This week on The John Ankerberg Show,
imagine never knowing the gift of love, joy, peace, and hope found in God's Word. For many, that's reality. They long to read it, but can't. For example,
over the years, we've been working with Bible translators, but when they get done with the translation, the majority of the people can't read it. They're non-literate.
So how can we help them?
join me for The John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Well, let me read to you from the book of Proverbs, chapter 3. I recommend the book of Proverbs. I'll recommend it again. Chapter 3, look at verses 9 and 10. It's old-fashioned language, but it's very clear if you've got an open mind. Okay, is your mind open? Here we go. It says, honor the Lord with your wealth, however big or small, your wealth, whatever you have, with the first fruits of all your crops. In other words, you give to the Lord up front. You don't wait till the end to see what's left over. No, as soon as you get a blessing, property, possessions, money, first thing you think of is 10% to the Lord. Then it says, then, here's a promise, your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. Now it's interesting that in so many passages in the Bible where it talks about giving of your money and the things God gives you, He always adds a promise to it. He doesn't have to do that. The Lord could have said, you do it because I say so, that's why. But the Lord is good. And just like we do with our kids when we love them, we urge them to do something, but they soon learn that there's always a kind of a benefit to doing what you should do. And that's the truth. We don't do it to get a benefit, but God always gives us more than we deserve.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
Help the Dove with much needed equipment for our remodel. Pray about giving to our spring boost. Thank you from the Dove.
Good morning, good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Paulina is here, which we're always happy about. And kind of the start of Holy Week as we move into this weekend, which is Palm Sunday, as you can see here. And all of next week will be very, very special in very meaningful ways. You know what we ought to try to do, and I know we will a little bit, but maybe we ought to try to highlight what happens each day. Mm-hmm. You know, starting Sunday, which is Palm Sunday, right up through till Good Friday, because every day that week, the trial takes place, the crucifixion takes place, mm-hmm. the abandonment takes place. I mean, there's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah,
so
very meaningful.
You know, very meaningful, so we'll look at that. Good morning to you. A lot going on in the news. I don't know when there's not. We'll talk about that. And
we are celebrating two very different but equally heartwarming days today. First up, it's National Pet Day.
Oh.
A time to show a little extra love for your furry, feathered, or scaly companions who bring so much joy to our lives. And while we cherish the moments we have with our pets, this is also a day to remind us to take care of those who don't have a home yet. So if you're in a position, if you can spare time and money for that, go foster, volunteer, donate to a local shelter, and maybe adopt a pet. There are a lot of them waiting for their new home. And today's a good reminder for that.
Yeah. Well, we have a variety of pets represented here at the Dove. A lot of us dog lovers here, mm-hmm. you know. And there's something about a dog. I don't know what it is about a dog, but they get to you.
Yeah.
They really do.
Oh, you become their world.
Yeah.
You know,
I've often wanted to put a camera on a dog so we could see life from their perspective, because they're always looking up.
I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, oh, you poor thing. Your neck must be hurting.
Yeah, we ought to put a camera on a dog. But we also have, some people have cats here, but the one interesting person, you know what Tammy has for a pet?
No.
She has, and she's going to bring it in one of these days, she has I think it's like 60 or 70-year-old turtle.
Ooh.
It's big. I don't know what the name of it is. And it hibernates, but it's coming out of hibernation now. And she takes it for a walk.
Really?
Yeah.
In her neighborhood?
Yeah.
We got to put a camera on that thing.
Yeah. So anyway, she needs to bring it in sometime, and she got this big old turtle.
Wow. Yeah, I'd love to meet him or her. Do we know?
I have no idea. And I don't know how you check it either.
Once you've cuddled with your pet, cheese fondue day.
Oh.
Yeah. It's not something we do often, but when we do, it's like an event in itself, right?
Well, they used to have fondue parties years ago.
Yeah. It's a classic Swiss dish that brings people together around a warm, melty pot of cheese, and you can add all kinds of seasonings and side dishes to this one, but it's perfect for dipping crusty breads or fresh veggies. And in a busy world that we live in, fondue is all about slowing down and sharing something delicious. So if you're looking for a little family time, maybe do that one.
Well, what's interesting about that picture, it doesn't just show bread. It shows other things you can put in the cheese.
Oh yeah, the possibilities are
Yeah.
endless. It's amazing.
Might have to look at that.
Yeah.
All right, good morning. Well, he's not, he's kind of a fondue guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a fun dude.
Yeah, and
he's a fun dude.
He's a fun dude, yeah. And his name is Jerry, and he does the weather.
With mostly dry conditions and cooler temperatures, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville, with a light northwest wind this afternoon. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny in mid to upper 50s from Salem down through Eugene with some early patchy fog mainly before 8 a.m. around Corvallis with a calm wind. In central Oregon, mostly cloudy and low 60s around Prineville, partly sunny with highs in the upper 50s in Bend and Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly cloudy and low 70s. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then partly sunny near 56 in Coos Bay. Decreasing clouds with gusty winds and daytime highs in the mid-50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, starting off cloudy, gradually becoming sunny with highs in the low to mid-50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, mostly cloudy in mid-60s and a low near 33. Into northern California, partly sunny in mid-60s around Wairika. Partly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 70s for Redding and Chico and near 80 in Sacramento with a light west wind this afternoon. In the Bay Area, early morning patchy fog, then clearing to partly sunny in mid-70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Partly sunny in San Francisco with a high near 66. And today in San Jose, partly sunny and 75. It's a snapshot of your Friday weather on the Dove.
Okay, well, there's a snapshot of Mount Ashland. It will be open today. Today is also a big day in Southern Oregon because it starts the 72nd annual Pear Blossom Festival. So it kind of starts today with the big part of it tomorrow. So the mountain will be open today, tomorrow, and Sunday for you folks that want to go up, and the conditions are spectacular.
Yeah.
So take a look at that.
Enjoy. And, in the book of Rome, Apostle Paul has mentioned that he is a debtor to both Jews and Gentile. What does that mean? Well, here's Pastor Jack Hibbs taking a look at that verse.
It's a real popular saying these days, pay it forward, pay it forward. Pay it forward, pay it forward. The world says that, but I want you to know that that is a Christian principle. It means this. Paul says, I am a debtor. I am a slave to Jew and Gentile, to Greek and to barbarian. In other words, you can put it this way. Paul says and believes that he's been called to be a debtor to everybody. Why, Paul? I owe the world the example of showing them God's affection and God's love and God's care, and to be like a signal, a sign to that world for this reason. Church, don't miss it. For this reason. What God has done in my life, I could never repay him. It's so amazing that what I'm going to do is take the greatest thing in the world that could ever happen to somebody, because it happened to me, and I'm going to say it and speak it and preach it and tell it to every human being I come in contact with.
Well, there you go. You know what? It's amazing to me. Have you ever? I do a lot of skipping around on media, and when you get into the Christian media where we live, it's really interesting. There are moments where all of these preachers are saying the same thing. It's kind of like God inspired a message to the country, and you have a variety of these pastors that are on, even on the Dove, and they all kind of basically have the same message at the same time. And you kind of wonder, man, what is the Lord trying to tell us? Okay. Yeah. Well, that message right there, guess what? Is in today's Word for You today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you don't get this, we'll send it to you absolutely free. We're printing millions of these around the world. And today, 11 million people read this in China electronically.
Wow.
That's all I can tell you, okay? Mm-hmm. But today's version comes out of Matthew 5 that says, go the extra mile. Mm. So if somebody compels you to go one, go with them too. The principle here is, in today's world, have you noticed, see, how can I say that? It used to be that when you would tip somebody, you'd tip them 10% at a meal. You know, yeah. Then it's kind of gone to 15, and then there's this assumption that it's 20 or 25. The only thing I can say is tip. You may have made somebody's day with that. You may have made the difference of buying a quart milk or a half gallon of milk.
That is very true. You never know.
You never know. So go the extra mile. Say something nice to somebody today. Do something special. Yeah, you can pay ahead. You can go out there and buy it, and that's part of it too. But I think the principle here is go the extra mile to show God's love. And it doesn't have to necessarily be anything with money. It can be through action. Just do it. But isn't it interesting? He didn't say about that, and that's today's word for you today.
It is. That's God's coincidence, God's way, remaining anonymous.
There you go. That's what a coincidence is. All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the headlines this morning on this Friday. There's quite a few out there that are interesting. Well, the president wins another one. The Trump administration was handed over another win yesterday from the federal judge, ruled that everyone in the United States illegally must register with the federal government and carry documentation. Now, you know what's interesting about this? This rule's been there forever, and it was totally avoided by the previous administration.
So it just wasn't enforced?
It wasn't enforced. So it's not as if they're trying to do something that's not on the books. This is already on the books. So, and here's how the judge got around it. The judge ruled that the group pushing to stop the requirement didn't have enough standing to pursue their claims. So that shows you the waywardness of the judge. He wasn't looking to uphold what the law says. He's basically saying those who argued against the law didn't have substantial evidence. In the meantime, it's a huge win for deportation. If you're not registered as an illegal person in the United States, back you go.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? This is a requirement in most countries. This is not United States being evil capitalist. Oh. You go to Russia when we go, Patrick has to register within 3 days of arriving into the country. Yeah. He's not a citizen. So it's common sense, another one of those examples. And an interesting thing too, what the administration is doing, telling illegals, if you self-deport, you have a chance of coming back and going through a door and becoming a legal citizen. We're not going to hold it against you what you've done. Yeah. So people are leaving voluntarily.
The self-deporting numbers are amazing. Mm-hmm. But this is a huge win, not only for the whole act of deportation, but it's a huge win for the rule of law. So this is a good one. Another story popped up. As you know, the president is putting a lot of pressure on Iran. And Iran, listen to that, you have to do the word game here. When I interviewed Jim Burley yesterday from the Pacific Legal Foundation, he says, you know what the number one word that an attorney uses when asked a question? You know what the first word is?
Cannot even imagine.
It depends. Mm-hmm. That's when they're asked a question. Well, it depends. In other words, we got to examine the meaning of words. This is a classic example. Iran is considering proposing an interim nuclear deal with the United States as a means to buy more time than the 2-month deadline set by President Trump. President Trump said and repeated his threat to use military force if Iran did not agree to end its nuclear program. There's the war on words. President Trump is not interested in meeting to talk about it. He's only interested into them stopping it. And not only stopping it, but ending it, which is a clear understanding of where the president's going, because Iran has no intention of stopping it or ending it. So I don't think 2 months is going to go anywhere. And from what I understand, Israel doesn't want to wait 2 months. So all of this is now up in the air.
And you don't think they're going to end it? Your prediction is that they will continue to develop?
You got to understand, and we don't in the West, and I'm not an expert on it, until I understand two things. I didn't understand the teaching of Muhammad when it comes to Israel, and in particular the United States, the little Satan and the big Satan, but their overall religious disdain for Israel in the United States, as it is covered in the Quran in the Muslim faith. I don't think we understand that it is real.
Yeah.
It is real. The annihilation of Israel and the United States is a real fundamental principle inside the Islamic faith that advances their belief system in the afterlife, okay? So we don't understand that. The other thing we don't understand is the rivalry between the Shiites and the Sunnis that's gone on for 4,000 years. We don't understand that. That's why right now the Middle East is divided between those who are part of the Abrahamic Accord and those who are not. We don't understand that. I understand it a little bit. I'm not a pro on it, okay? I don't believe for a moment Iran will abandon their nuclear program, because their whole motive for being on the face of the earth is to eliminate Israel. That's their whole motive. And they want to beat the Sunnis in doing it. And the Shiites. The Shiites and the Sunnis want to be they're warring against themselves. Who's going to get the credit for taking out Israel? We don't understand that. So I think what President Trump is saying here is, if you don't end the program, we're not here to talk about negotiating anything. I'm requesting you to end the program. If you don't, there's consequences. And that's the hard line that the president has drawn. I think the problem now is the 2-month timeline. And I think Israel will weigh in on that one.
So what do you think what do you think is President Trump's end game here? If he knows they're not going to end, is it just like, what is he doing?
What is he doing?
Why give them time to end something they're not going to end?
Well, he's showing the world that he's willing to talk that results in action. And
I think actually that's a very key point here, because like you mentioned, here in the West we don't understand a lot of things, and when people start yelling and screaming at European countries or Russia for negotiating with Iran or having any kind of relationship, they forget that Iran is their neighbor. I mean, imagine having Iran sharing a sea with you like they do with so many countries, the Caspian Sea, or being a neighboring or the next neighbor below. Your tone and your conversations would change drastically when you talk to them, because they're much closer to you than here in the United States, where we have an ocean between us.
Yes, and there's one other element. The regime in Iran does not represent the people of Iran. The people of Iran want to live peacefully with their neighbors and everybody else. The regime that's running Iran wants to wipe out Israel. That's the problem. And I think that if Iran was without their regime, and if there was a regime change, I think you'd see a significant Iran. In fact, we've had reports that one of the largest underground revivals, Christian revivals, is in Iran right now. They've closed over 1,400 mosques throughout that country. All right, the other story is back to the United States. So we have the vote where if you're not registered as an illegal alien with the federal government, you're going to go out. And then they passed a bill called the SAVE Act. The vote was 220 to 208 in the House, which means the Republicans and 4 Democrats supported the fact that the House voted in favor, requiring proof for citizens for citizenship in order to vote in a federal election. Now, I suspect this will go to the Senate and pass, and it'll become law. So you're going to have to show your citizenship before you vote in a federal election.
Why would anyone protest against it?
Oh, well.
But there will be.
There will be
people who will be saying, "Oh, these people, you're going to eliminate a big a portion of the population because they don't have access to the resources to prove and this and that." And
yeah, well, you can hear the tears coming. Mm-hmm. So here is Chip Roy. He's the one that sponsored the bill. Here's what he had to say.
We know that there are people who have been indicted for voting illegally. We know that there are voter rolls with massive numbers of people who are illegally present in the United States. We know that the previous administration let in millions of people into the United States, wrongfully and illegally under parole and asylum, blatantly abusing the law to put people in the United States that have no basis for being here, many of whom carried out dangerous acts against American people, killed American citizens, but importantly, have been registering to vote. That's what's been happening. So what we understand is the American people have spoken very clearly that they believe only American citizens should vote in American elections. There's nothing controversial about that. There's nothing controversial about saying that you should be able to ensure that only citizens vote. And let's be very clear. Federal law has currently been interpreted to prohibit states from being able to check citizenship.
Yeah. So I think one thing that the Republicans seem to be doing successfully, whether they recognize it or not, could be just by accident. I don't know. I'm not in the inner circles. But they're setting so many things straight and with common sense that those who vote against it just now have isolated themselves for re-election. Because if you take anybody that votes against something as common sense as this, they're going to have to defend it during their re-election. Mm-hmm. And this is so blatantly obvious that you shouldn't vote if you're not a citizen. How in the world can you defend that?
Yeah, and I think the only people who can be for it are the ones who are counting on illegal immigration to sway the election.
Yeah. And that's at the national party level. All right, one last story. I find this story interesting, and I brought it up because I've been there. It's a beautiful place, and I had no idea that it was going bankrupt. It's called the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. If you've ever been there, it is a fabulous building right there on the Potomac.
Have you been?
Yes, and it is. I walked through that building, and it's just stunning. It's a beautiful place of arts. That's what it was supposed to be. And what happened was they were getting all of these federal dollars, and the board and everybody else was making a lot of money, but the place was going broke. They couldn't do anything. So the president stepped in and fired the board.
And became the chair.
Well, guess what? The Kennedy Center. Well, first of all, here's what the president had to say about the Kennedy Center right at the beginning of this. Here's what he had to say.
We're going to fix it up, but it's really emblematic of our country. But the Kennedy Center, you look at the columns outside, you look at, they're supposed to be covered by something, whether it's marble or whatever, granite. They were never covered. They were painted. But bringing it to more modern times, a lot of money's been given to it, and the money has not been properly spent. They built rooms underground with no windows, no nothing, that will not be used ever. You're not going to have people use them. It's such a waste of money, such a terrible waste, but we'll bring it back, we'll make it great again.
Well, they did. This past March, the Kennedy Center's Earth and Space Arts Breaking Sky, it was a fireworks show that saw over 11,000 attendees, a new record for a public event. And the events inside and out continue to break all types of records as they brought it under control. And apparently the list of things in the future for it to move forward with the events in there are going to be pretty cool.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is. It just shows you that government just doesn't know how to run anything, and it took a developer to go in there and say, why did we build rooms downstairs with no windows that nobody's going to run? Where did that money go? Well, we know now that grants are siphoning tools. If you get a $1 million grant, probably $250,000 goes for the project and the rest goes for administration. Mm-hmm. That's how the game's played.
Yep.
So anyway, so much for all that. Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Fondue. fondue.
Fondue.
We'll be right, fondue.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
So I went in and I was telling the receptionist my symptom. The doctor said, get her in here now. I just didn't know what was going to occur, but I just trusted the Lord. I was afraid, but Lord, help me not be afraid. And they got me on the gurney. He hooked me up and he took my hand into his hand and he said, you're going to be okay. And I'm a Christian. I'm going to pray for you.
Watch the 700 Club Friday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. Happy Friday. And as we head into, the beginning of Holy Week, we have Palm Sunday, Sunday. And then tomorrow in Southern Oregon, actually starts today, the Pear Blossom Festival.
Yeah.
So, boy, the blossoms are blowing all over the place.
Pretty.
So, a lot going on. I had a couple of backyard stories. I say this a little bit of a, kind of have to bite my tongue here, but the Oregon Republican Party has gone through another chairman. The current chairman lasted less than 2 months. This is kind of interesting. Jerry Cummings, who was pastor for about he was a pastor of a church, but he became party chairman, and he lasted 2 months. The one before that has only lasted about a year, and then over the last 5 years, they've gone through about 3 or 4 chairmen.
Oh.
So the question is, what's going on? I know exactly what's going on.
But you can't say.
I can't. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment on it. But this is sad. And I think there's some lessons here. Are we properly vetting people? And not only for candidacies for maybe, positions within the party, are we, do we vet people when we hire them? Do we vet pastors before we interview them? I would say part of the vetting process, I said this to a board the other day, was asking me a lot of questions. I said, did you vet the spouse? Especially for pastors. I think if you're going to be looking for leadership at a church, you need to look at the big picture.
This is so true because in just a little historical fact for you, in Russia, pre-communist Russia, when a priest was being elected, the bishop would meet with the wife because she becomes the mother of the church while he becomes the father, and so of a parish. And so that was part of a selection process. The bishop would meet with the wife of the priest. Of course, the priest would also be vetted, but that was a requirement, and that makes so much sense because not only are they the same household, but each one brings something to the position.
Yeah.
And in our day and age,
I think in Christian organizations, you almost have to go through the vetting of the total picture of the family and everything. And it's not that you're probing; it's just you got to get a feel for this. But in this case here, where they've gone through a series of chairmen over the last 5 years. And I've known all but the last two. And I know what they went through. And the party has, let me see if I can say this so it comes out okay. It's kind of lost its purpose. It's forgotten what it's supposed to be. It's trying to become something that it never should be, and it wasn't intended to be. But if the state party is not together, then all of these central committees in the various counties out there flounder as well, and you can't have this. You got to somehow pull it together. So I know what the problems are, and it's sad. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I can hold my
No.
You know how you've said before, Republicans love to be the victims, and it helps them raise money when they're in the minority. And then perhaps that leads to forgetting the purpose, because now you're in the background, you're not the leading party. But what an opportunity today with President Trump in office, with us controlling the White House, the House and Senate, to change the state and to change Oregon. And in the midst of all that given opportunity, we lose a chairman. Kind of sad.
It is, because to your point, is if they have ever been handed an opportunity to get their act together, it's now.
Yeah. Is there a deadline by which they need to come up with a new person?
No, the vice chair steps up, becomes the interim chair. It forces them to go through the executive committee process, and eventually they got to put it up for election and all that stuff. But you got to go through the protocols of it. But there's a lot of pettiness behind the scenes, and it's not good. And it doesn't look like some of the reasons for this resignation. But anyway, I don't know what to tell you. We're running late. The last story is this. So the president, as you know, has put out DEI practices, or DEI policy from the White House through executive orders to state schools around. And so what's happened is that the DEI practices subject individuals or entities using such practices to serious consequences if they don't obey the executive order of the president. Well, guess what? Washington State Superintendent of Public Instruction and our own governor, Tina Kotek, and the director of Oregon Department of Education basically have told the president, take a hike. I don't know what this means in the way of consequences, but I would assume it means money. So both Washington and Oregon have told the president on his DEI policy, have a nice day.
Wow. I wonder what the parents are going to do now. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Sorry about all that. Too much chatting going on here.
No, it's good.
What is today?
Today's Friday.
It's fondue.
Cheese fondue. And a pet day. So I don't know if you want to give cheese to your pet, but love them.
Yeah, they're special.
Yeah. All right.
You know what's good about a pet?
They don't ask questions. They love you unconditionally. And they just make every day better.
They don't talk back. They're always at the door.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Like a perfect spouse.
Show me how to love the unlovable. Show me how to reach the unreachable. Help me now to do the impossible.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living. Your home.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
The National Religious Broadcasters 2024 TV Station of the Year Award winner. theDove TV.
Good morning. Happy Friday to you. A lot going on in the news as we head into the first of the beginning of Holy Week, Easter. This will be Palm Sunday this coming Sunday. If you're in Southern Oregon, you'll start the festivities this afternoon for the 72nd annual Pear Blossom activities.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend for Southern Oregon.
Are you going to go out and run something?
I'm not going to run anything because I'm not a runner.
Are you going to eat something?
I may leisurely walk.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe. It's
you
a great
want a fondue party?
Yes, it is a great time for the community to come together. Everyone is happy and cheerful, and there's no politics, there's no tariffs, there's no stock market.
No.
People are just sitting on the sidelines during the parade, and everyone is just happy. It's a beautiful time. I love it.
And people will hand you some candy along the way. All right, good morning to you. Well, we've already had earlier story, the president is not real happy with Iran, so let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thank you for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Efrem Graham. It is a busy Friday. Let's begin this half hour in the Middle East on the day before the start of the Iranian nuclear talks. Israelis are preparing to celebrate Passover, the holiday of freedom. At the same time, concern is growing about when and what kind of Iranian nuclear could be made that could possibly really bring security. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl is on the story.
The U.S.-Iran nuclear talks begin this weekend as a new report warns Iran's nuclear threat has worsened significantly. The Institute for Science and International Security warns that Iran has improved its nuclear weapons capabilities, that it takes less time to build those weapons, and that the idea of building them has gained more acceptance in Iran. The report also says the nuclear threat from Iran has increased significantly since February of last year. President Trump already warned Iran it has about 2 months to come to a deal or face military strikes.
We have a little time, but we don't have much time because we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
Warning that Israeli security is on the line, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren, writes the Americans could agree to a deal that lets the Iranians once again keep their nuclear facilities and centrifuges intact. Another Israeli concern is the Iranians will stall for time to finish developing such weapons and get ready to repel any attack to destroy their nuclear facilities. Iran denies it's building nuclear weapons.
We will provide whatever guarantee necessary to prove we are not seeking a nuclear bomb.
Trump has moved a massive amount of American military power into the Middle East that could strike Iran's nuclear facilities. The Iranians are trying to neutralize that threat, warning Tehran might stop cooperating with the International Atomic Energy Agency and expel its inspectors if military threats against Iran continue. Here in Israel, a new report says the Palestinian Authority is still paying allowances to terrorists who've killed Israelis. The PA insists it stopped the infamous pay-to-slay program, but the watchdog group Palestinian Media Watch points out one PA employee's publication admitted some money being paid out is specifically for martyrs, prisoners, and the wounded. Meanwhile, both Trump and Israeli sources tell the Jerusalem Post it appears a new deal is close to getting the remaining hostages who are alive freed.
Want to get those 24 out really fast, and we're working on it very hard.
This comes after freed hostages traveled to Washington.
We are here because
of President Trump. Thank you.
Israeli government spokesman David Mencer points out Jews in Israel and around the world are preparing for Passover, also known as the Festival of Freedom. That's when Moses cried out to Pharaoh, "Let my people go."
That cry is not just an ancient piece of history, it's our urgent living plea for the 59 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And Chris Mitchell, our bureau chief, joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what are the concerns Israel has about these negotiations?
Well, Ephraim, how long the negotiations are going to continue? What is the goal of the negotiations? What happens if the talks fail? Trump has made it clear, and you saw that in Julie's report, that there would be very dangerous consequences for Iran if it does go, if it fails in these negotiations. And he's made clear that the military option is on the table. For Israel here, Ephraim, there's really one acceptable outcome, and that would be dismantling or destroying completely all Iran's nuclear facilities, not freezing them. Ronald Reagan said famously many years ago against the former Soviet Union, trust but verify. And I would say over here in Israel, after years of dealing with Iran, the saying would probably be don't trust and still verify. As we saw, Michael Oren, who was the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., said, if they do dismantle completely and destroy, it's going to serve the interests of not only Israel, but also the United States. And many people believe this really could be the best opportunity Israel has ever had to go ahead and destroy Iran's nuclear facilities. They have the U.S. diplomatic support and massive U.S. military support.
I know we've talked about this earlier in the week, but what more can you tell us about the Pay to Slay program?
Well, it continues. We talked earlier today to Itamar Marcus of the Palestinian Media Watch. He still says they're still paying, quote, martyrs, prisoners, and wounded. They're only just finding another way to hide the payments to terrorists and their families without being detected. They used to do it by direct deposit. Now they're doing it through the post office. That's where the Palestinian Media Watch found out that these payments are still being made, even though the U.S. the PA had told the U.S. they needed 6 months to stop the program. So they're still rewarding terror and terrorists.
Well, there's a little intel. Don't trust, but verify. So, I think we've reached a point, maybe even globally, where we understand that Iran and all of its proxies have one thing in mind: the elimination of Israel. They don't value human life, and human life, the expense of a Israeli life, or a Jewish life, or an American life, is an advancement in their theological kingdom. And they have not stopped anything when it comes to going after Israel. So don't trust them anymore. Now it's time for action. And it looks like all the elements are lining up. When and where this happens, I don't know. But be ready. We're going to wake up one morning, and it's going to be the headlines. Yeah. It will be the headlines. So, all right. What did we thought? He was a fun dude.
He's a fun dude.
Fun dude. Mm-hmm. Okay, here he is doing the weather.
With mostly dry conditions and cooler temperatures, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville, with a light northwest wind this afternoon. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny in mid to upper 50s from Salem down through Eugene with some early patchy fog mainly before 8 a.m. around Corvallis with a calm wind. In central Oregon, mostly cloudy in low 60s around Prineville, partly sunny with highs in the upper 50s in Bend and Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly cloudy in low 70s. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then partly sunny near 56 in Coos Bay. Decreasing clouds with gusty winds and daytime highs in the mid-50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, starting off cloudy, gradually becoming sunny with highs in the low to mid-50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, mostly cloudy in mid-60s and a low near 33. Into northern California, partly sunny in mid-60s around Wairika. Partly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 70s for Redding and Chico and near 80 in Sacramento with a light west wind this afternoon. In the Bay Area, early morning patchy fog, then clearing to partly sunny and mid-70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Partly sunny in San Francisco with a high near 66. And today in San Jose, partly sunny and 75. It's a snapshot of your Friday weather on the Dove.
Okay, beautiful shot of Mount Ashland this morning for those of you watching on the Dove Radio. It will be open today, tomorrow, and Sunday, and then for the next 2 weekends after that, and that'll be the end of the season. But today is the beginning of Pear Blossom Festival in Southern Oregon, so one of the things you can do, go skiing. So enjoy it. All right, good morning to you. Well, Ronald Reagan, quite the person, quite the president, and I remember the day, the attempt on his life. And from the day that he was shot to the day he went back to the White House was 2 weeks. I remember as they were putting him under the anesthetic to operate on him to take the bullet out of him. You know what he said?
No.
I hope all you guys are Republicans.
Oh.
Down he went.
Something you would say.
Anyway, here he is 2 weeks after that horrible event. He goes back to the White House.
On April 11, 1981, the spring air held a hush of anticipation as a limousine picked up President and Mrs. Ronald Reagan at the hospital and took them back home to the White House. Just 12 days earlier, an assassin's bullet had come terrifyingly close to ending President Ronald Reagan's life. But now, as the car door opened and Reagan stepped out, the nation saw something more powerful than fear: resilience. Dressed in a red cardigan sweater over a white shirt, his smile was wide but cautious. Reagan waved to the cameras and saluted the Marine Guard. The wound bandaged under his sweater still ached, but his spirit was unmistakable. "Honey, I'm home," he quipped to Nancy, echoing the humor that had carried him through the worst. Inside the White House, the staff erupted in applause. The president, still a bit pale but determined, paused at the threshold. This was more than a return. It was a symbol. America had held its breath and now exhaled. The Gipper was back.
Wow.
You remember it, huh?
I do, yeah.
I was not around, but that's okay.
Got some other things I can tell you.
Okay. A news story that kind of slipped under everything else we've been talking about. We didn't talk much about Mike Huckabee being confirmed as the new ambassador to Israel.
Wow.
And yesterday, or maybe the day before, he was sworn in.
Wow.
And the interesting part about the ceremony was the Bible that they used for the swearing-in ceremony. He actually took some time to explain the significance of that Bible.
This Bible I first bought for Janet when I was in Jerusalem in 1973 on that trip where Rick and I went. I brought this Bible home. I gave one to my sister, one to my mother, and I gave one to Janet, who I was dating at the time. Less than a year later, we would be married, and she would carry this Bible in our wedding. Years later, when I was sworn in as lieutenant governor twice and governor 3 times, she always brought this Bible, and I was sworn in every time. When Sarah and Brian married, Sarah carried this Bible in her wedding. And when she was sworn in as governor, this was the Bible upon which her hand held. It's pretty special. The fact that it has survived these now 52 years is amazing in itself. And I want to say how grateful I am to be able to share this moment with Janet, who's carried not only a Bible all these years, but carried a faithful, consistent willingness to go anywhere and do anything that God ever called us to do. And of all the tests I think that we've been given, this may be one of the biggest. It's not like, well, we're going to move from Little Rock, we're going to go to Memphis. Nope, we're going halfway around the world to Jerusalem. And it looks like next week will be the week that we will actually deploy and get to post. I was praying that I would be able to be there by the end of Passover and by Easter Sunday. We will make it right on time, being there probably next Thursday.
That would have been yesterday.
Well, that's for next week.
Oh, next Thursday.
He'll be there next
Okay.
Thursday,
All right.
yeah, right before Easter. And I just thought it was such a beautiful tribute to his wife. And also the Bible is so very special.
Wow. Isn't that neat? He will make a fantastic ambassador. And I think he's the first evangelical ambassador we've had. Of course, he's a Baptist pastor, so we'll see where this goes. Pretty cool. Yeah. Pretty cool. All right, we'll take a Baptist break. We'll be right back.
The right cleaning company matters. Choose Dust Plus Cleaning and Carpet Care, a family-owned company proudly serving Grants Pass and nearby communities for over 25 years. We're passionate about delivering the best, whether it's carpets, using purified water for no window spots, or carefully washing solar panels. We're committed to superb customer service from start to finish. Radiant spaces from local professionals. Request a free quote today.
Your landlord's insurance won't cover your belongings in a fire or theft. Protect yourself with renter's insurance. It covers your belongings, provides liability protection, and may pay for additional living expenses if a covered loss forces you to temporarily move out. Renter's insurance is affordable, often less than $20 a month. Be sure to ask about bundling discounts. The Division of Financial Regulations Renter's Insurance Shopping Tool can help you compare policies. Go to dfr.oregon.gov.
What kind of life are you living? You want to be a happy person? Don't chase happiness. Chase after God. Come to God and He will clean your life up. You just come as you are.
Hello, everyone in Dove Land. My name is Todd Friel, host of Wretched TV, inviting you to join us for Wretched, the TV program I host. If you have evangelism heebie-jeebies, you're terrified to share your faith.
Okay, good morning. 10 minutes before the hour. Will China cooperate? Well, at the moment they're being a little...
Difficult,
challenging. We'll put it that way. Well, a lot of the people think that sooner or later they'll come to the table because everybody else doesn't want to do business with them anymore. So this was talked about on Fox Business with Stuart Varney, and here's what they had to say.
Secretary Bessent mentioned during dialogue with Japan, we just mentioned India. China will be isolated, but that also sets up an opportunity to negotiate. It's just, I don't think it's happening immediately, meaning in the next couple of days per se, but yes, they will eventually come to the table. A deal will be done.
China is itself in trouble. Their economy is not doing well. And my question is, where do they sell all those products that used to come to America, $300 billion worth a year? If they don't come here, where do they sell them?
They were selling many into Europe, Germany in particular, but the German economy may even be weaker than the Chinese economy. Their industrial production basically is at a 15-year low.
And they don't want the Chinese dumped on them.
That's exactly right. So the problem with China, basically for the last few decades, has been an export-led growth strategy, which has favored production over consumption. They need to rebalance their economy, just as the Secretary of Treasury mentioned, and get more consumption relative to output. That will take time. Ultimately, it will happen. There's also an issue with national security, as we learned during COVID, and the administration has been very clear on, and that is we need to remove supply chains and important product like personal protective equipment, pharmaceuticals out of China as well. So the tariff is all part of this bigger game plan, and the market is too worried about what's going to happen in the next few days. But I'm optimistic that kind of the worst of the trade news is kind of past, in the sense that now the tough part of the negotiation begins.
You know, I think we need to be careful. We just don't know all the answers to all the questions.
Really?
And, yeah, we act like we do, but we don't. Yeah. I think what really is interesting to me is the president's brought to the table one thing in mind, and that was stop the ripoff from the United States market. And the one thing that he had in mind was the one market that everybody wants to play in is the United States. And he's trying to level the field. A lot of people don't like it, think he's going about it wrong. But at the end of the day, he's making progress. And one thing he did, I don't know if this was intentional or just a byproduct of his moves, he's isolated China.
Yeah. China has been a bully in the world for many years, not just to us, but to other nations. And those nations, Europe, some of the Asian nations, they've been waiting for the United States to step up, because only the United States can do what we're doing now, is stand against China. And I think other nations may follow, and that's what scares China.
Yeah, so it's been an amazing thing, so we'll keep an eye out for it. Got some great guests coming up. John O'Connor will be with us. Perfect timing to have a federal prosecutor help us understand some things. I look forward to that.
Yeah. Well, everybody likes a good hot shower, right? President Trump is making showers great again. He signed executive order this week that reverses Biden and Obama policies that make it hard for showers to be long and beautiful. Listen to this.
The Biden administration launched what you've called a war on showers. They had certain regulations that basically killed the water pressure of showers and other water appliances.
You can say it. Go ahead. What are the appliances?
I mean, it's everything, sir.
Sinks and toilets.
Dishwashers, toilets, sinks. But the shower heads are a huge...
There's no water. You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real deal shower head, they should have the ability to get one. That's true.
If you buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on. They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. And you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers where no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. So it's the same water. And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized.
You know, I think that's why people like him, because he's the same whether he's talking about showers or whether he's talking about Iran. He looks the same, he always dressed well, but he talks the same. You know, he's funny, he knows the issues. Yeah. Imagine Biden sitting there, he would probably just give some talking points, or any other politician for that matter. Trump, he just talks, he understands these issues, and he's really genuine about them, and they are common sense.
Well, I can't wait till this is codified. I am so frustrated with our kitchen sink because we replaced the faucet in there, and we have one of those things you pull out and just spray around like that. And there's just no pressure.
It's drip, drip, drip.
And so I went in there to figure out, is it, know there's a limiter in there, so can you take it out? No, you can't. If you take it out, you're, well, to his point, I think these are actually part of the manufacturing in there. But I can't wait to replace it where you can get some good flow through there.
Yeah. And doesn't it kind of bother you a little bit about our government that they don't trust us enough to know how much water we need? I mean, why does everything has to be regulated?
Yeah.
Even your showers and washing dishes.
Well, the only thing I can say is that's government socialism. Let's control everything. Sooner or later, they're going to try to regulate oxygen. So,
but that's the beauty of living in a developed country, right? Where we can have water and use it.
All right, 1 Corinthians 2:9. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor is it even entered into the heart of man, the things which God has prepared for those who love him. Heaven is beyond your imagination.
In the heart of the Rogue Valley, RVTD connects us all, not just through miles traveled, but also through time. 50 years ago, public transportation laid the foundation for growth in Southern Oregon. These early buses didn't just carry passengers, they carried progress, connecting communities and fueling dreams. Today, RVTD moves with the pulse of the Rogue Valley. More than just a bus ride, it's a lifeline for workers, students, and families, ensuring access for all to jobs, schools, and essential services. With renewable technologies and more convenient ways to get around, RVTD's building a future that keeps our region connected. Public transportation isn't just about getting from here to there. It's about the journey. Join RVTD as they build on their legacy of sustainability, innovation, and community. Rogue Valley Transportation District, celebrating 50 years of moving our community forward.
Co-op, where big ideas grow.
What if your next ride was more than just a ride?
What if it was an epic adventure filled with unforgettable memories?
At Panoramic Moto Tours, we take you beyond the ordinary, offering curated routes, privately guided with all the details handled.
Our passion is to share the joy of riding incredible roads, exploring new sights and towns, and connecting with others and sharing our stories.
Sound good to you?
What are you waiting for? Let's create your custom tour, or join us on one of our upcoming tours.
The Lost Coast and Trinity Alps, May 16th through the 19th, or the Oregon Coast and Cascades Tour, June 22nd through the 26th. Just click the Tours tab at panoramicmototours.com or call 541-622-3844.
panoramicmototours.com. Your next adventure starts here.
God's eternal power and divine nature are seen in creation. But in a world blinded by darkness, the Life Outdoors is here to pull back the veil. The mountains don't lie. Truth leads to Jesus. Wake the wild within.
The Dove Spring Boost. Pray about helping us reach our $128,000 goal during our remodel. Thank you from the Dove.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Paulina's here. That's all that counts. And we can see here we're going into a great weekend with so many things going on, but most importantly, we'll be celebrating Palm Sunday, Passover, and then also you will have the Pear Blossom Festival, which kind of gets underway in Southern Oregon today and full bloom tomorrow, if I can use that.
Yeah. Do you ever think of when you look at biblical events, like this week is going to be Holy Week, we're going to start it with Palm Sunday. Do you ever look at those stories and think who you are in that story? Are you the person with the palm? Are you the Pharisee? Are you the apostle? You know, like, because you read them and yeah, it's just interesting when you start doing that and just kind of applying the things that happen to your life and figuring out where you are with your walk with Christ.
You know, it's an interesting thing. I know I have never done that, but I tried my best to think about it in the terms of those days and that culture, which coming out of modern time into biblical times has got a big transfer in your brain. But The Chosen has helped me, watching The Chosen. And I have a favorite in The Chosen. It's Matthew.
I know. He's so cool.
He's kind of a cute guy. And what I mean by that, he's just different than the rest of them.
He's very much in character. He's different. He has something special about him that Christ recognized, but as an actor, as a character.
Well, he's doing a great job as an actor, but I have to tell you, the way he's portraying Matthew as being someone he's like constantly calculating and thinking. You can see him kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
So watching The Chosen has helped me become more identifiable to biblical times and what the culture was really like. Because today we read the Bible and we think that everybody's driving a Tesla over there.
Yeah, you know, and you start, and that's what I too. Like with Chosen, I was thinking too. You know, you look at these people, for centuries they've been waiting for a Messiah. And then a guy comes in and they're struggling to believe that he is the Messiah.
Yeah.
And you wonder, how would I act? Would I fall at the feet of Jesus and worship him? Would I have the same doubts? I mean, now we're waiting for his second coming. How will we react? I mean, it sounds like it's going to be more obvious than before, but still, it's just like that exercise while you try to place yourself in the position is interesting.
I would like to talk. Maybe you can do this because you're the greatest producer in the world.
Yeah.
Find me an Orthodox Jew that converted to become a Messianic Jew. I'd like to know, in their mind and their heart and their head, what was it that caused them to see Jesus as the Messiah? Wouldn't that be interesting to know?
It would, yeah.
Because, I mean, that's the one stumbling block there is in the relationship between, Christians and Jews is Jesus being the Messiah. So you would think, I'd just like to know, because the conversion of Jews into what they call a Messianic Jew, they believe Jesus is the Messiah, is an amazing step. It's a big step. But I'd like to know in their heart and their head, what happened? What was it that you saw it?
What clicked, yeah.
Yeah, what clicked, yeah.
I'll work on that.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday we celebrated farm animals, and today we are taking care and loving on our pets. So whatever you have in your house, whether it's a cat or a dog or parrot or fish, love them, take care of them. And if you have space in your life to love another pet, maybe go and adopt. Southern Oregon Humane Society is a wonderful organization. Karen is doing a great job there heading it, and they always have pets looking for homes, and there are other rescues around as well. So consider doing that today. And once you've given your pet some extra cuddles, you can have some cheese fondue. It is National Cheese Fondue Day. Yes, please. A classic Swiss dish that brings people together around a warm, melty pot of cheese. And you can use breads, chips, veggies, whatever you want to use to dip into that mixture. And in a busy world that we live in, what can be better than just slowing down and enjoying a family time? My only concern, now that I look at it, you kind of like sharing the dish with others. Well, I guess there's no second dipping, so that's okay. But you kind of like, every time you you dip something, you like...
Well, you do that with a bowl
with
full
a
of
stick,
chips.
yeah.
Put your hand in there. I don't know. Hey.
But it looks good, huh?
Have you ever gone to a restaurant where they don't give you utensils? You do everything with pita bread?
No. Have you?
Yes.
Where were you, Turkey?
Well, see, there is a Turkish-type restaurant here in Southern Oregon that they'll give you the utensils, but they also give you the pita bread, and you eat with your hands with the bread. The bread becomes your utensil. Sounds pretty interesting.
It does. And hummus and pita.
Hummus, and you get it all over your face and all over your clothes, but you leave full.
Yeah, and happy. Full
Good
and
stuff.
happy.
All right, good morning to you. Well, he's almost back, and he's interesting. And
he's a fun dude.
He's a fun dude. Not a fondue, but a fun dude, and his name's Jerry, and here he is.
With mostly dry conditions and cooler temperatures, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville, with a light northwest wind this afternoon. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny in mid to upper 50s from Salem down through Eugene with some early patchy fog mainly before 8 a.m. around Corvallis with a calm wind. In central Oregon, mostly cloudy and low 60s around Prineville, partly sunny with highs in the upper 50s in Bend and Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly cloudy and low 70s. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then partly sunny near 56 in Coos Bay. Decreasing clouds with gusty winds and daytime highs in the mid-50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, starting off cloudy, gradually becoming sunny with highs in the low to mid-50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, mostly cloudy in mid-60s and a low near 33. Into northern California, partly sunny in mid-60s around Wairika. Partly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 70s for Redding and Chico and near 80 in Sacramento with a light west wind this afternoon. In the Bay Area, early morning patchy fog, then clearing to partly sunny and mid-70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Partly sunny in San Francisco with a high near 66. And today in San Jose, partly sunny and 75. It's a snapshot of your Friday weather on the Dove.
Good morning.
Ooh, look at the fog.
Yeah, got a little something going on there at Mount Ashland, but you can see the cars.
What's the meteorological term for this?
That could be what they call a temperature inversion, where you have the dew point and the temperature within 2 degrees of each other, and that will produce a little fog. And that could be it, or that could be just something on the lens of the camera, I don't know. But you can see the parking lot filling up, and they'll be open today. So they'll be open today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And then the next 2 weekends, just Saturday and Sunday. But still a lot of snow up there to go up and have some great skiing conditions. There you go.
Well, we were just talking about the gospel and how the Bible sometimes can become just, something far away, a historic document, book that doesn't really apply in our life, but it so does. And Pastor Jack Hibbs emphasizes the continuing influence and importance of the gospel in our life.
You and I, we are a light to the lost. One is every time we hear the gospel preached, it equips us more and more to preach the gospel. You and I need to be reminded. I forget his name. It doesn't matter. Great preacher of yesteryear said that every day he would preach the gospel to himself. Notice, I'm not saying, and he didn't say you need to get saved every day. You only get saved once. But to set his rudder, his compass for the day, he would preach the gospel to himself. That's good. The second thing is this. Every time we hear the gospel preached, it should challenge us personally to embrace it again. So when we first get up in the morning, we preach the gospel to ourselves because we're reminded it's in us. It's cooking. It's like a crock pot. It's there, and it's not cooling down. And the second thing is, that being true, then it's got to be shared. It's got to be take out of the crock pot what's in it and serve it.
Yeah, share the gospel.
Share the gospel. This is the week to share the gospel. Well, of course, every day is, but this is really a great time to underscore the emphasis of what it's all about. It starts with Sunday, Palm Sunday, Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, and then all the events up to Friday. Mm-hmm. So anyway, hopefully you are participating, your church celebrates and recognizes, and we'll give you some things about that next week. A lot of churches will have a Good Friday service, sometimes at night, sometimes during the day. And then some churches recognize what they call the Maundy Thursday service. That's a Tenebrae service, which is usually done with candlelight in the dark. And that's the time when finally all 12 apostles abandoned him. Yeah. So quite significant, and hopefully you've taken the time. A lot of people will be, they've been doing their 40-day fasting of something, which will end on Sunday.
On Easter, yeah.
Yeah. All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. The president wins another one in court. The administration was handed another win yesterday afternoon as the federal judge ruled that everyone in the United States illegally must register with the federal government and carry documentations. Now, this is a law that has not been enforced. It's on the books. And the president is using this as a means of deportation. If you're not registered and you've been here past the time of being registered, out you go. And that's what's happening. The judge, however, saw it differently. He said he bypassed the law basically to say that the other side opposing the upholding of this law didn't produce a persuasive claim. So there you go.
Another common sense ruling, just going back to what it should be, pointing things out that are obvious, just getting things done.
Well, the president, as you know, has put a lot of pressure on Iran, and you'll hear more about this in a few moments coming up from CBN Newswatch. But the Iran is considering proposing an interim nuclear deal with America, which is basically to buy more time than the 2 months the president has put on them to come to an end of their nuclear project. Big difference. We're not here to talk. We're not here to negotiate. We're giving you 2 months to end it. Well, apparently Iran wants to come to the table and talk, which could be nothing more than a delay system. I think what you'll hear from CBN Newswatch, look, this isn't going to work because the Iran will not abandon their program. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Here's another one that's kind of interesting. It was an act called the SAVE Act. It went through the House yesterday. The vote was 224, 208 against it. And this is a act whereby it went down party lines, but basically says that you have to be a citizen to vote in a federal election. Now, the question is, this will probably go all the way through and become law, which is kind of interesting. Could states pick this up and bring it down into state and county elections? You have to be a citizen to vote. Well, the sponsor of this was Representative Chip Roy, and here's what he had to say.
There's nothing more sacred under the Constitution than ensuring that the people are able to have the voice in the election of the people that represent them in Washington and throughout the country. Once that is undermined, then people lose faith in the very institutions upon which this is built. This legislation is designed to restore that faith, to save our elections, to save election integrity. I'm proud to have worked on this bill with my friend, the chairman, with my colleagues on this side of the aisle. And I would note that 5 of my Democrat colleagues joined us last summer to vote for this bill. Hardly a partisan exercise. Hardly a partisan exercise to say that we should protect the elections of the American people. So I urge my colleagues to support this bill, to restore confidence and faith in our elections, to take a step forward in ensuring that people know that citizens will be in control of this republic as the founders intended.
Well, this will be a huge deal. Now, this is being passed in the House. It'll go to the Senate. It's expected to pass in the Senate. There will be some dissenting votes over there on the our side of the aisle. But this is a common sense bill. Now, think about this. If this becomes law and you have to be a citizen to vote in a federal election, every 2 years there's a federal election. And are they going to separate ballots? You're going to get a federal ballot and you're going to get a local ballot? Is this where that's going to go? Let's hope not. If federal candidates are on the ballot and you're not a citizen, you don't get to vote in that election.
The whole discussion is mind-boggling to me. The fact that we're even talking about it, the fact that 208 people voted against it makes absolutely no sense. I know the argument is that these types of laws, they disenfranchise some voters who don't have proper documentation, don't have access, blah, blah, blah. Well, change it, fix it. Don't change the law because some people can't get the documents. You know, we're not going to allow people to drive without licenses because they can't get to DMV. You're going to get fined and you probably will lose any chance of getting a license. So the fact that they're opposing it is just totally un-American. And I don't know how they can get elected, only probably if illegal votes.
Yeah, as I said earlier, there may be a side thing happening here that I don't know if it was intentional. It certainly is starting to appear. And that the more you put these common sense votes back into the House of Representatives or in the Senate to be voted on, the Republicans are isolating the crazies, so to speak. And they have to go back home and campaign on the fact that it's okay for anybody to vote anytime, no matter who they are and where they came from. I think that's not going to fly in most neighborhoods.
You know, one thing they should do is visit one of those citizenship ceremonies that I was part of last year. It's so special. And you have a room full of people who worked so hard to become citizens. And one of the privileges is to vote. And you're just giving it away.
How long for you? How long for you?
Well, I mean, I've been here for 25 years.
Yeah, but how long?
But it was several years since I got my green card. The process itself was only a year, but I didn't start it right away. But you have to go through it. You have to be a card holder for a few years.
Mhm.
You have to have a good reason. You have to spend money.
Wow. All right, this last story is kind of fun because I did not know that the Kennedy Center was just about broke. And if you've ever been to that building, if you've ever been to an event in that building, we were there for a reception in just one of the rooms. But we got to walk through the building. It is absolutely spectacular. It's right on the shore of the Potomac. It's just a gorgeous building, and they've had some of the greatest art events ever. Music, dance, all kinds of celebrations have been there. And the president stepped in and fired the board because it was going broke. And he wanted to take it over and fix it. And here's a little bit of what he said before I read the outcome. Here's what he said.
We're going to fix it up, but it's really emblematic of our country. But the Kennedy Center, you look at the columns outside, you look at, I mean, they're supposed to be covered by something, whether it's marble or whatever, granite. They were never covered. They were painted. But bringing it to more modern times, a lot of money's been given to it, and the money has not been properly spent. They built rooms underground with no windows, no nothing, that will not be used ever. You're not going to have people use them. It's such a waste of money, such a terrible waste, but we'll bring it back, we'll make it great again.
So what has happened, all the board was fired and let go. I didn't know how that was structured, that he'd have the authority to do that, but it was receiving all kinds of grants. And usually how the game is played, you get a grant for something, say $1 million grant, and $250,000 goes towards whatever the project is, and the rest goes for administration fees. And that's kind of what happened there. There was a high-powered board being paid and all this stuff, and it was just elitism on steroids. And it was going broke. It was literally going broke under the nose of the Capitol. And so he goes in there, shoos everybody out, restructures it, and he became chairman of the board. You got to kind of laugh at this. Anyway, they had one of their best events. It's called there at the Kennedy Earth to Space Arts, breaking the sky. They had some fireworks in it. They had all kinds of things on inside. And guess what? During that event, 11,000 people went through there. That was the highest ever. And the list of events coming down the road that'll be restored there will be amazing. And hopefully it'll return to be the arts center that it was intended to be. So, if you ever get a chance, go there. Just whether you go there for an event, that would be a hoot. I'd love to do that. But just go there and see the building. It's spectacular.
I have an important question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What did they serve you at that dinner?
Well, we were there for a reception, you know, when I was with the RNC. So,
did they have fondue?
Well, they had things that kind of looked like it. I can't remember now, but, you know, all those receptions were over the top.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
imagine.
it's just, you went from table to table and you just, you know, it's anything you want. The best one, well, I shouldn't say the best one. The most memorable one I went to, Peggy and I went to it, is when we had an event at the John F. Kennedy Library. We went to that one there in Baltimore, and it was stunning because it was out on the peninsula, and we had it outside in the lawn, and they literally had, they had trays of lobster.
Wow.
You know. So, but this one, when we went there, we were in a hall. It was down from the main auditorium. There was a bunch of rooms, and the rooms down there are just huge, bigger than our building. And you go in the room, and we had a reception there. But gosh, what a beautiful place! And I'm glad it's being restored to its intended purpose.
Yeah.
So good stuff all the way around.
Maybe there'll be another event you can go to. You just have to go back into politics.
Well, I'll tell you why when we come back.
With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. Love the Lord your God.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Thousands of satisfied customers make Jim Clark's Consignment Country the most recommended RV consignment lot on the West Coast. Even dealers recommend us. That success comes from dealing with only the cleanest pre-owned RVs at the best prices, no high-pressured salespeople, and treating customers with respect. And we've been doing this in the same location for over 40 years. Before you buy or sell your RV, see why so many satisfied customers recommend Jim Clark's Consignment Country. Family owned and operated at 1630 Rogue River Highway in Grants Pass.
Hi, Perry Atkinson here. Hey, I wanted to take a few moments to show you what's going on here at the Dove. For the first time in 11 years, we are adding insulation to our building, not only for weather, but for soundproofing here at the airport. And for the first time, we're adding air conditioning to the Dove. So we're asking you to prayerfully consider helping us purchase some much needed equipment during this remodel. Right here, we'd like to install an LED video wall, which will be used on the Dove's morning show. And we can use it to produce some new shows for the Dove in the future. Additionally, we need to replace a firewall server in our IT room, along with upgrading the television software, which runs all the programming on the TV network, along with replacing the morning show audio board. Thank you for being a partner in this unique media ministry. Together, we really are changing lives for good. So you can call anytime at 541-776-5368 or safely and securely online at thedove.us. Thank you. Good morning. Happy Friday to you as we head into Palm Sunday here in Southern Oregon. The festivities for the 72nd annual Pear Blossom bloom today and really bloom tomorrow all day long. So go to the parade. It starts at 11 o'clock and take your family. Should be a great time and the weather should cooperate. So it looks good. Well, a couple of state stories. This is kind of interesting. Now,
yes.
I approached this story a little reluctantly, only because I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt and the stitches, and that is the Oregon GOP, which is the Oregon Republican Party. This is the state party now. Just went through their 6th chairman since 2021.
Wow, that's high turnout.
This one only lasted 2 months, and unfortunately, Jerry Cummings was the chairman and tendered his resignation this week and has walked away. The vice chair now will step up and be the chair for a little while until they have to hold executive meetings and come up with some kind of a voting process to do all of this. This is really sad, and I know exactly what's going on. And the only thing I can say to my fellow people there that I was chairman for 4 years, you guys better get your act together. This is not good, and the reasons behind it are devastating, and they're varied from each person to each person. But the fact that they've had high turnover at that says a lot about what is not happening. And I think what they need to refocus on, my personal opinion, first of all, you may want to consider not putting a legislator in. I think you may want to look for an outside business person. You need to look for somebody that knows how to run a company and fix it before it's too political. And the purpose, and I've given this speech all over the state, and in fact I gave it a couple of months ago to a group of Republican women. The purpose of the party is 3 things: raise money, get Republicans elected, and increase voter registration. That's it. You're not a legislative arm. Quit writing these stupid resolutions. They just divide people and ruin the efforts of what you're trying to do. And if there's ever a time for Republicans to have their act together, it is now.
100%.
Yeah, and for them to do this, go through this again. Don't get me wrong, every one of these have their own twists and turns to it, but the fact that they've gone through 6 since 2021, not good.
Are there any accomplishments in the past few years that you can highlight for those of us who don't know much? Am I putting you on the spot? We can skip it then. Well, seriously, we don't have to talk about that. But you mentioned the 3 things that they're ought to do, and I understand
that's
some
their
of
purpose.
those.
That's their purpose.
Some of them happen behind the scenes. We don't hear about them. We just kind of see the results.
Right.
And we got kind of close to having a Republican governor. There was one successful race in the last few years that Christine ran, but okay, we're not going to go.
But the problem is, don't get me wrong, this happens on the Democratic side too. Look what's happening in the Democratic side. The radicals don't want the moderates to be part of the system. The radicals on the left want the moderates on the left to go away. And you have the same problem on the Republican side, the radical right-wing arm of the Republican Party, which sounds bad, but they cannot tolerate somebody that doesn't think, walk, talk, act, and breathe, and dress like they do. And they're considered a rhino, and they throw them out. You can't do that. And I'm not talking compromise here. You're not going to have a perfect person all the way around. You have to work with what you've been given. And you can't control the legislature because the people put that person in there. You work with them. You work with them. You increase your numbers. But if it's going to be a fight of constant divide over philosophy and ideology, you're going to lose, and you're going to continue to lose. And it shows insecurity. And this is why the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have lost so many. The number one party in the state, and maybe in the country quickly, is the independents, because they don't have to play this game. They just vote the way they want to vote.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem with the independent movement is it will split the primaries and it will force open primaries. And the moment you have an open primary, you are going to lose across the board. And that's my argument, and I'll stick to it. This is sad. I hate to even report on it.
I'm holding back another question that I'll ask.
Oh, go ahead.
During the break.
Hey, it's Friday. Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking, power is addicting and suffocating, and people love it. And I wonder, do you think when people become not necessarily chairman, but has the Republican Party of Oregon kind of shifted its purpose because they now know they can be, what do you call the people who put their kings, when you anoint kings, what do you call it?
Well,
kings,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
So does it have to do with that? I mean, have they been spoiled with power to where they now think, the Republican Party thinks that their responsibility is different than what you mentioned? Because they can see that they can be effective in legislature, they can be effective
Well, they're not.
candidates.
That's the problem, is they think they're a governing party. They're not. They pass resolutions thinking they're going to force people to do things. And that is, just stay away from it. It just divides people. I gave that lecture to a bunch of Republican women a little while ago, and I said, please don't write any resolutions. It does nothing. It just absolutely divides everything. Mm-hmm. You can express it without writing a resolution. So, but the point is that, look, I don't know, it's just really confusing, but if there's ever an opportunity to increase voter registration of ours in the state, it's now. You've got a far left legislature that people don't like, especially us people in the East and the South. This is the moment to seize the opportunity. And you're not going to do it by being angry and swinging a saber in the air. You do it by working together and moving the ball forward and becoming serious. But when you see this kind of stuff, I remember meeting with Newt Gingrich early on, and I was dumb, I was young, I didn't know anything, I was learning. It was OJT for me, and I had a great executive director that taught me a lot of things, and we worked together on things, and I was learning fast, and boy, then I saw it fast. But look, if there's ever an opportunity for the conservative movement to move forward, it's now. But when you have infighting like this, who wants to touch it? No, it's too toxic to be a part of it. You know? So that's my 2 cents, and I'll probably get a lot of emails. Okay, the other one is, as you know, the president has, through executive order, has written no DEI for education, no more diversity, equity, and inclusion in the levels of education. And he sent that out to everybody, and as he's working on towards eliminating the Department of Education, part of it is over the influence of DEI and the kids being really propagandized about all this stuff. So he sends it out and said there will be great consequences if you break this executive order. Well, guess what?
What?
The Washington State Superintendent of Public Instruction and our own Governor Tina Kotek and the director of the Oregon Department of Education both have said, have a nice day, Mr. Prez. We're going to keep doing it. So I think the consequence will be basically money, and we'll see how that works out. But our state and the state to the north of us have both said to the president's executive order, tally ho.
Tally ho. All right, let's take a look at the stock market, and then we'll take a break.
Sorry about that. Oh, way over. Gosh, sorry about that. Okay, where are we here? Hi, Preston. Thank you, buddy, for getting this here. Ooh, the Dow is up. Look at this. 2 points. Well, it's green. The Nas is up 59 3/4, and the S&P up not quite a point. So at least it's past the red line. It's into the green area territory. That's pretty interesting. Look at gold, up to 32.44. Silver's back up to 31, almost 32. Good news, bad news. It wasn't 74, but it is $63.50 for crude oil. So it's down but up a little bit. So that's what's happening with the big board. All right, sorry about that. We chatted too much. You asked me too many tough questions.
But you have all the answers.
No, I don't.
It's so
I just
fun.
have.
And you have such a
I have
great
lousy
experience.
opinions, you know. But you learn a lot. If you don't learn from even mistakes you made, then shame on yourself. And I made a lot of mistakes being chairman, but I sure learned fast.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538. Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
You might have said, as many people have said to me, Alex, it's too late. I've wasted years. I'm too far gone. Please don't believe that lie. You can call out to Christ. He will hear you. He will receive you. He has a plan for you. You might have a short time left in this world, you think. God still has a plan for you. And today, God's will for your life will become operative as you turn to Him.
How y'all doing out there?
We are ready for the weekend.
Okay, it's going to be a great weekend. It's Pear Blossom number 72, and it's also the beginning of Holy Week with Palm Sunday, so a lot going on. Well, the Middle East, pretty unstable. Let's check in with CBN News Watch and get caught up.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thank you for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm Efrem Graham. It is a busy Friday. Let's begin this half hour in the Middle East on the day before the start of the Iranian nuclear talks. Israelis are preparing to celebrate Passover, the holiday of freedom. At the same time, concern is growing about when and what kind of Iranian nuclear could be made that could possibly really bring security. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl is on the story.
The U.S.-Iran nuclear talks begin this weekend as a new report warns Iran's nuclear threat has worsened significantly. The Institute for Science and International Security warns that Iran has improved its nuclear weapons capabilities, that it takes less time to build those weapons, and that the idea of building them has gained more acceptance in Iran. The report also says the nuclear threat from Iran has increased significantly since February of last year. President Trump already warned Iran it has about 2 months to come to a deal or face military strikes.
We have a little time, but we don't have much time because we're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
Warning that Israeli security is on the line, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren, writes the Americans could agree to a deal that lets the Iranians once again keep their nuclear facilities and centrifuges intact. Another Israeli concern is the Iranians will stall for time to finish developing such weapons and get ready to repel any attack to destroy their nuclear facilities. Iran denies it's building nuclear weapons.
We will provide whatever guarantee necessary to prove we are not seeking a nuclear bomb.
Trump has moved a massive amount of American military power into the Middle East that could strike Iran's nuclear facilities. The Iranians are trying to neutralize that threat, warning Tehran might stop cooperating with the International Atomic Energy Agency and expel its inspectors if military threats against Iran continue. Here in Israel, a new report says the Palestinian Authority is still paying allowances to terrorists who've killed Israelis. The PA insists it stopped the infamous pay-to-slay program, but the watchdog group Palestinian Media Watch points out one PA employee's publication admitted some money being paid out is specifically for martyrs, prisoners, and the wounded. Meanwhile, both Trump and Israeli sources tell the Jerusalem Post it appears a new deal is close to getting the remaining hostages who are alive freed.
Want to get those 24 out really fast, and we're working on it very hard.
This comes after freed hostages traveled to Washington.
We are here because of President Trump. Thank you.
Israeli government spokesman David Mencer points out Jews in Israel and around the world are preparing for Passover, also known as the Festival of Freedom. That's when Moses cried out to Pharaoh, "Let my people go."
That cry is not just an ancient piece of history, it's our urgent living plea for the 59 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And Chris Mitchell, our bureau chief, joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what are the concerns Israel has about these negotiations?
Well, Ephraim, how long the negotiations are going to continue? What is the goal of the negotiations? What happens if the talks fail? Trump has made it clear, and you saw that in Julie's report, that there would be very dangerous consequences for Iran if it does go, if it fails in these negotiations, and he's made clear that the military option is on the table. For Israel here, Ephraim, there's really one acceptable outcome, and that would be dismantling or destroying completely all Iran's nuclear facilities, not freezing them. Ronald Reagan said famously many years ago against the former Soviet Union, trust but verify. And I would say over here in Israel, after years of dealing with Iran, the saying would probably be, don't trust and still verify. As we saw, Michael Oren, who was the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., said, if they do dismantle completely and destroy, it's going to serve the interests of not only Israel, but also the United States. And many people believe this really could be the best opportunity Israel has ever had to go ahead and destroy Iran's nuclear facilities. They have the U.S. diplomatic support and massive U.S. military support.
I know we've talked about this earlier in the week, but what more can you tell us about the pay-to-slay program?
Well, it continues. We talked earlier today to Itamar Marcus of the Palestinian Media Watch. He still says they're still paying, quote, martyrs, prisoners, and wounded. They're only just finding another way to hide the payments to terrorists and their families without being detected. They used to do it by direct deposit. Now they're doing it through the post office. That's where the Palestinian Media Watch found out that these payments are still being made, even though the U.S. the PA had told the U.S. they needed 6 months to stop the program. So they're still rewarding terror and terrorists.
Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. All right, good morning to you. Let's check out the weather as we head into this weekend with all of its activities. Here's Jerry.
With mostly dry conditions and cooler temperatures, today in northern Oregon and southern Washington, partly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville, with a light northwest wind this afternoon. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny in mid to upper 50s from Salem down through Eugene with some early patchy fog mainly before 8 a.m. around Corvallis with a calm wind. In central Oregon, mostly cloudy and low 60s around Prineville, partly sunny with highs in the upper 50s in Bend and Sun River with a light north wind. Over in Boise, Idaho, mostly cloudy and low 70s. Along the Oregon coast, patchy fog, then partly sunny near 56 in Coos Bay. Decreasing clouds with gusty winds and daytime highs in the mid-50s for Port Orford, Brookings, and Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, starting off cloudy, gradually becoming sunny with highs in the low to mid-50s for Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, mostly cloudy in mid-60s and a low near 33. Into northern California, partly sunny in mid-60s around Wairika. Partly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 70s for Redding and Chico and near 80 in Sacramento with a light west wind this afternoon. In the Bay Area, early morning patchy fog, then clearing to partly sunny in mid-70s for Santa Rosa and Napa. Partly sunny in San Francisco with a high near 66. And today in San Jose, partly sunny and 75. It's a snapshot of your Friday weather on the Dove.
Well, gorgeous weather, and there it is. That's called fog.
That's not a lens being dirty.
And that's not a lens problem. It's a little bit of fog at Mount Ashland. That's kind of typical. The sunrise comes up and the temperature and dew point come together. They have a little fog. That'll be around for a little while. Then it'll clear off. It's a bluebird day above that. The mountains open today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And then the next 2 weekends only on Saturday and Sunday. But the beginning of the pear blossom, this is something you can do. Go skiing.
Go skiing, then change into shorts and go running.
There you go.
Okay. Well, on this day in history.
Oh, this day. Oh, yeah, Ronald Reagan. President Reagan, interesting guy. He got shot. And as you well know, that was a big thing, and obviously so, and had the whole world on tilt. But 2 weeks after he was shot, he walks out of the hospital, and here it is.
On April 11th, 1981, the spring air held a hush of anticipation as a limousine picked up President and Mrs. Ronald Reagan at the hospital and took them back home to the White House. Just 12 days earlier, an assassin's bullet had come terrifyingly close to ending President Ronald Reagan's life. But now, as the car door opened and Reagan stepped out, the nation saw something more powerful than fear: resilience. Dressed in a red cardigan sweater over a white shirt, his smile was wide but cautious. Reagan waved to the cameras and saluted the Marine Guard. The wound bandaged under his sweater still ached, but his spirit was unmistakable. "Honey, I'm home," he quipped to Nancy, echoing the humor that had carried him through the worst. Inside the White House, the staff erupted in applause. The president, still a bit pale but determined, paused at the threshold. This was more than a return. It was a symbol. America had held its breath and now exhaled. The Gipper was back.
Okay, well, I remember those days.
Yeah, it's amazing that
Barbara Bush, George W. Bush there, or George H. Bush, W.
Yeah, it's amazing that he came back and he had such beautiful disposition about him and that big smile. You know. All right, let's see. Mike Huckabee, who is a former governor. He's a TV host. He's a former interviewee on Focus Today. He just became our next ambassador to Israel. And during the swearing-in ceremony, he used a very special Bible that his family has had for over 50 years.
This Bible I first bought for Janet when I was in Jerusalem in 1973 on that trip where Rick and I went. I brought this Bible home. I gave one to my sister, one to my mother, and I gave one to Janet, who I was dating at the time. Less than a year later, we would be married, and she would carry this Bible in our wedding. Years later, when I was sworn in as lieutenant governor twice and governor 3 times, she always brought this Bible, and I was sworn in every time. When Sarah and Brian married, Sarah carried this Bible in her wedding. And when she was sworn in as governor, this was the Bible upon which her hand held. It's pretty special. The fact that it has survived these now 52 years is amazing in itself. And I want to say how grateful I am to be able to share this moment with Janet, who's carried not only a Bible all these years, but carried a faithful, consistent willingness to go anywhere and do anything that God ever called us to do. And of all the tests I think that we've been given, this may be one of the biggest. It's not like, well, we're going to move from Little Rock, we're going to go to Memphis. Nope, we're going halfway around the world to Jerusalem. And it looks like next week will be the week that we will actually deploy and get to post. I was praying that I would be able to be there by the end of Passover and by Easter Sunday. We will make it right on time, being there probably next Thursday.
What a story.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that he gave tribute to his wife, and kind of going back to what you and I were talking about, how the committee needs to vet spouses. Like in this case, look at their incredible career and everything he's been able to accomplish, in big part due to Janet being there by his side.
Yeah.
And them being together for 50 plus years and just supporting each other through all this. Just talks about the importance of having the right person next to you that will go through all the trials.
Amen to that one.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick get out of jail break.
Funded break.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Burgers, salads, sandwiches, barbecue platters, sides, and more. Smoked, grilled, and served to perfection. Sweet Tea Express. Breakfast, burgers, and barbecue.
Are student loans keeping you from other goals? Take control of your financial future by addressing your student debt today. We know that student debt can be confusing, and we have resources to help. Visit the Division of Financial Regulations Student Loan Help site to learn more, or call the Student Loan Ombuds at 888-877-4894.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
This week on The John Ankerberg Show,
imagine never knowing the gift of love, joy, peace, and hope found in God's Word. For many, that's reality. They long to read it, but can't. For example,
over the years, we've been working with Bible translators, but when they get done with the translation, the majority of the people can't read it. They're non-literate.
So how can we help them?
Join me for The John Ankerberg Show weekdays at 4 o'clock right here on the Dove TV. It'll be encouraging and informative.
Welcome back. Happy Friday to you. 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Well, we went from state chairman problem to the big guy, and that is the RNC chairman currently, Michael Watley. He's quite a guy, and I know a little bit about him. He's doing a great job. Anyway, he was talking to Newsmax and saying, talking about coal and President Trump being the energy president. Here's what he had to say.
Well, look, this is the energy president. President Trump, since 2015, when he first announced that he was going to run for president, has said that he is going to unleash American energy, and we are going to have an era of energy dominance. We saw it during his first term. We are seeing it already play itself out right now. We need baseline. We need affordable, reliable electricity. Coal has long been an important part of that mix, as has nuclear, as is natural gas. The president is going to do what he can to bring down energy prices and make sure that all of our industries have the electricity that we need. This is a fundamental step towards it, and it really continues his mission to make sure that we have energy dominance here in America. What we're going to see right now is the fact that grocery prices have already started to come down significantly. Egg prices have been cut in more than half. We're already seeing gasoline prices that are coming down. Oil futures are already down to $60. We're going to see that with relief at the pump already. Those are two huge fundamentals. We need to make sure that we're bringing inflation down. And when all of those prices come down, that's going to be the net positive impact the president's talking about. When this economy ticks up, then we're going to see that affect the outcome of the elections. And we are in a very strong position to be able to move forward in the midterms as long as Congress gets its work done and we get these Trump tax cuts extended and we get the rest of the president's agenda implemented through Congress, because we know he's going to deliver every single day on behalf of the American people.
Gosh, what an opportunity to come back to the state of Oregon and go after some of these CD districts and put Republicans in there. The opportunity is there, and we're going to miss it.
Especially with the numbers that we already see. CPI came out, the report, and the consumer price index is already showing improvements. The inflation is down. It was down, I think, 0.2%, which is for the first time since 2020. So things are already on the uppity up. And like you said, great opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, coming up, we're going to have some great guests, including John O'Connor, who is an attorney that will help us understand what's happening right now with the courts and all that. Too many lawsuits happening. Okay. President Trump, the president of common sense. I'm just impressed how he can talk about Iran and showers in the same day and actually know what he's talking about. And with his recent executive order, he's making showers great again.
The Biden administration launched what you've called a war on showers. They had certain regulations that basically killed the water pressure of showers and other water appliances.
You can say it. Go ahead. What are the appliances?
I mean, it's everything, sir.
Sinks and toilets.
Dishwashers, toilets, sinks. But the shower heads are a huge
There's no water. You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real-deal shower head, they should have the ability to get one. That's true.
You buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on. They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. And you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers where no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. So it's the same water. And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized.
Amazing.
Gosh, we're on the list of things a shower come in, you know.
And he went after paper straws, saying that they just become soggy and they don't work, and it's also ridiculous because you end up going back to what you should have been using the first time. I don't know. I just love the authenticity of this person and that he's real. I mean, he says stupid things sometimes. He makes mistakes like everyone else. But when he talks about something, at least, you know, he
knows. I mean, he's a developer. He talked about himself there. He's a developer. He knows construction, and that the experience of that. Even it comes down to a faucet in the sink. You deal with things like that. But I have to tell you, we replaced our faucet in our kitchen a couple of years ago, and it has one of those restrictions in it. It is so frustrating because I like the little squirter thing, you know.
And
it barely comes out.
Yeah.
You know.
And at the end of the day, you end up using the same amount of water because you're standing there longer to get grease off the pan.
Yeah. So I just didn't know that required an executive. Where is that on the list of things to do?
But it's there, and it's not it seems like a small thing, but it's not. I mean, we are a developed nation.
Yes.
We should be able to have the water and be trusted by our government to figure out how much to use.
Yeah, get the government out of your hair.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good morning to you. 1 Corinthians 2:9, a great scripture for you today, especially going into this weekend, Easter, Palm Sunday. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor has it even entered into the heart of man, the things which God has prepared for those who love him. This is a clear indication that heaven is beyond human imagination.
Yeah.
You know, it's beyond anything you can think. I mean, we have a few indications. Streets of gold, that's kind of interesting. But that's like, it's a street with gold. What's the rest of it like, you know? All right, stick around. Got some great guests coming up.
Big ideas grow.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley's own K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in a future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
At Kelly's Automotive Service,
being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us
is at the core of our business.
We believe what we do matters.
Every interaction, every transaction is another opportunity
to bring Christ's values into the marketplace.
If you're a technician who wants to be part of something bigger,
or just looking for a new shop to bring your vehicle,
we would love to meet you.
We're Kelly's Automotive Service,
where we service your vehicle,
but take care of you.
The Dove is upgrading our studios. For the first time, weather and sound insulation, air conditioning, and we're enlarging our studios to produce more local shows. It's been budgeted, but we also need some much-needed equipment to complete the remodel. Our goal is $128,853. Will you prayerfully consider helping us during our spring boost? You can call anytime or donate online safely at thedove.us. Thank you for helping the Dove change lives.
So I went in and I was telling the receptionist my symptom. The doctor said, "Get her in here now." I just didn't know what was going to occur, but I just trusted the Lord. I was afraid, but Lord, help me not be afraid. And they got me on the gurney. He hooked me up and he took my hand into his hand and he said, "You're going to be okay, and I'm a Christian. I'm going to pray for you."
Watch the 700 Club Friday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Of course, China, the world, tariffs, everything, Iran, a lot going on. Very timely for us to have back, and always an honor. Scott Powell's back with us today. He's the member of the Committee on the Present Danger, China, and a senior fellow at the Discovery Institute, the author of a fascinating book entitled Rediscovering America. And let me encourage you to check this book out. It's well-researched and quite inspiring. There's a picture of the cover of the book, and that's also the website, rediscoveringamerica.net. There's a picture of the landing page, rediscoveringamerica.net, or check out the book on the website or online, Rediscovering America. Scott, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Barry, I'm very well. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I want to jump right into China just for a moment. Did you ever think you'd see the day where the global wagons have circled China?
I really didn't. I must say that the art of the deal, Donald Trump, is just amazing, really. That he could take what worked in private practice and apply it to the global situation is very impressive.
So, where do you think China is today? How would you describe China's position today?
Well, China needs us more than we need them, although we do need them in some critical areas because we've allowed our supply chains to be really taken over by China, particularly in the medical field. All that, we talked about that in the first year of COVID when we were having problems. Have we done anything about it? Not in the Biden years, but I think we will. But they have a very serious economic problem. They are over leveraged. They have too much debt. Their debt is different than ours. We finance our government by the issuance of treasury debt. They rely a lot on the banks for their need for credit and debt. So they could potentially have a real banking crisis. I think that's really knocking at their door.
Okay, there's a lot there. I guess we could dig on it for a long time. But at the end of the day, they're faced with this massive tariff. 70 countries are coming to make a deal with the president and not dealing with China. It appears to me they're going to be forced to do something here quickly. You have any idea what it might be?
Well, I think they're going to have to make concessions on tariffs, and that's. People who criticize tariffs have to remember that the world has been treating America very unfairly. Many nations have high tariffs against our goods, and we have had relatively low tariffs against foreign goods coming into our country. So the whole initiative now on raising tariffs is really to equalize tariffs and drive tariffs lower, really. Every time I've heard that countries are willing to go to zero tariff if we do, Donald Trump applauds that. So he is a man that understands how the economy works, and the economy works best when there are no barriers to entry. Mm-hmm. And so a zero tariff regime on both sides is the optimum trading environment. It really is.
Do you think we'll get there, Scott? I mean, it looks like some countries want to go there. He's kept a 10% minimum for now, but it looks like we could see some zero tariff conditions with some countries.
I think it's possible, but look, a 10% tariff on both sides is not onerous at all. So low to no tariffs with equality on both sides is really the goal of the Trump administration. It's not punishing nations. It's not, any sort of vindictiveness. It's a recognition that we need to change. We need to foster more manufacturing in the United States.
Yeah.
And we need to have fair trade, pure and simple. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
And that's what has driven his policy.
All right, I want to shift your brain. I'm trying to figure out how to formulate this question because it's a big one, and that is, when you take the shift that the president has done in the first 100 days or so of his administration, and you add to that the discoveries of Doge finding fat and fraud at this level, and then some of the legislation that they're going through just yesterday where you're going to have to be a U.S. citizen to vote in a federal election, there seems to be a shift towards not only common sense, but a more moral order.
Well, that is something that you and I would both applaud. When you really think about the three legs to the stool of a healthy nation, and we're talking about America, you could say that first we need to have DOGE represents truth and honesty in accounting. It really does. Pure and simple. Truth and honesty in how accounting is done, how money is spent. It's all about accountability. The second leg to that stool could be called culture. And Donald Trump has spoken many times about the importance of a cultural renewal, a cultural renaissance. And what would that look like? Well, it's not complicated. We need to have more beauty in our lives, in our environment. We need to have better music. We need to have better lyrics, better music. Beauty is something that we can all celebrate. And really, our culture has become rather depraved in these areas. But the third and the most important leg of that stool is the spiritual side. And everything, really, politics is downstream. We could say politics and DOGE, everything having to do with politics, that's the spending of government money. It's downstream of culture, and culture is downstream of the spiritual environment. And so we need a spiritual revival. A spiritual revival will affect the culture. Culture then affects the politics. So we have a wonderful structure in the Constitution. We really do. As long as we honor it, what we've been experiencing in America is what has been called a color revolution, where political change is brought about by demonstration in the streets, a change of the narratives, the propaganda shaping the way people think. Has brought about color revolutions in many nations. We're experiencing that in America. That's unthinkable because we have a system conceived by the Founding Fathers, a constitutional republic wherein the people would be sovereign, they would choose their government, and that the government that they chose would have constraints. We have 3 branches of government. We have checks and balances. We also have a federal system where we have federal power, federal government power, and state power. And the founders really envisioned that the states would have more power than the federal government. That's all been lost. But we have this amazing system that when you allow it to work, it works very well. A color revolution, demonstration in the streets and so forth, all this protesting, while we all applaud free speech, we can't allow mob rule in America. And that's essentially the direction in which we've gone to some extent, where we've undermined our constitutional system because we've allowed really seditious and treasonous activity to enter into enter into what's acceptable. So I think we're going to go through a tough period, but I think at the end of all this, America will really flourish more than it ever has before.
Just kind of a weird thought here. I'm wondering if the seedbed of spiritual revival is starting to take place through a cultural revolution. And let me explain that, because now we are pushing back on DEI. Now we are pushing back on transgenderism and boys and girls locker room. Now there is a pushback culturally that could be the beginning of a spiritual revival.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that there's one way that these things happen. I've often given a lot of thought to spiritual revivals. How do they start? How do they begin? What are the conditions that bring about spiritual revival? And one of the things I think we could all agree on is that repentance is very important. We approach God with repentance for not only this our own personal sins, but repentance really for the national sin, and that God hears that voice of repentance, and God works through the Holy Spirit. So I think that spiritual revival can break out in different places. It's not going to be a national thing. It'll probably be, spiritual revivals will come in different parts of the country. When we think of America overcoming the British rule before, when we were colonies and we were approaching the middle of the 18th century, 1750, 55, British rule became very oppressive, and there came to be a movement for independence. But the problem was that we had these 13 colonies that were disparate. They had no communication with each other. The telegraph hadn't even been invented. How were 13 separate and different colonies that didn't communicate with each other going to take on the greatest military power in the world? That's Great Britain. Well, God had a solution for that. And he brought about the Great Awakening through George Whitefield, Jonathan Edwards, and others that really brought about a change in America where people across states became connected with each other, recognizing that they shared a common faith and that freedom was a foundation to their faith and that they needed to unite and fight for freedom. Now, not all Americans at that time joined in the cause, the patriot cause, but a good number, a sufficient number, and God raised up, great leaders. And in fact, the earliest, in Boston, in Lexington and Concord, where the revolution really started, do you know where the early patriot militia came from? They came right out of the churches. Mm-hmm. And they were, in fact, led by the pastors sometimes. So it's really quite remarkable when we really understand our history, and we can learn from that history.
So really, Scott, isn't that what made America great in the first place?
Absolutely. This is what distinguishes America. America was the first nation in all of human history where people had civil rights and nations were determined by the state, right? The state decided what people could do and couldn't do. America was born out of a recognition that people had unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to use the words of the Declaration of Independence, but even the presumption of innocence, which is part of the Bill of Rights, due process, and many things in the Bill of Rights really reflected these God-given rights that the government could not take away. Mm. And it's amazing how the founders, after they drafted the Constitution, they realized that they needed to add on the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. They were added after the Constitution had been signed off on, on July. I think the actual signing date was like July 2nd or 3rd. We celebrate the 4th of July, but the actual agreement to the Constitution came just a day or two before. Mm-hmm. But after that time, it was recognized that we need these unalienable rights codified in the Constitution. And that was the basis for the Bill of Rights, which became the first 10 amendments. No other nation has what we have. Yeah. And this has protected us and will protect us now if we defend it strongly. And we're making a lot of progress. We really are.
One quick question, comment here. These are spiritual covenants.
Yes, they are.
That only can be broken by us, not by God.
That's right. God would never break his agreement with man. Yeah. It's the problem is us. We're the sinners, and we are too easily swayed and would break our covenant. But when people recognize that life is so much better when they live within the boundaries that God has established, I would liken it to a football game. Everybody likes to watch football, and they play very hard. But what if the referee gets out there one day and says, we're not going to have any rules today, except that you got to get each side has to get the ball over the goal line, but there are no rules. What would happen? There would be chaos on the field. Yeah. people would get hurt, and it would be a disaster. Similarly, God says, look, you have freedom, but you've got to play within the rules that I prescribed, and those are all articulated in the Bible.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you can have total freedom, and your life will flourish and prosper, and happiness will reign.
Good stuff. All right, let me take a quick break. I got some more questions for him. Check out the book, Rediscovering America, online or at the website. And the website is rediscoveringamerica.net. As we've been discussing, I think you'll find this to not only be informative, but quite frankly, inspiring. Check it out. We'll be right back.
Spring is around the corner and summer is on its way. With fire danger biting at its heels, flammable blackberries and underbrush will grow like gangbusters and sprout fire danger in no time. A wise property owner knows the best time to take care of fire danger is to extinguish it before it gets started. GMV Forestry, LLC can help you protect your property with adequate fire brush clearing to fireproof a zone around your precious property. With over 35 years experience, GMV Forestry LLC has the knowledge, experience, and all the equipment you need to get the job done right, offering a wide variety of services like mulching, field mowing, snow removal, driveway clearing, ditch cleaning, gravel delivery and spreading, driveway sweeping, logging, and more. GMV Forestry LLC does it all, and they do it right. GMV Forestry LLC, the team you can trust. 541-660-6445. 541-660-6445.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Hey, it's your old car here. Remember me? Remember us? You barely even turn me on anymore. It's clear you don't need me, but that's perfectly fine, my friend, because you can choose to give this old car new purpose and donate. There are incredible nonprofits out there that accept cars just like me. So call or donate online. Donating a vehicle is easy, the pickup is free, and your gift is tax deductible. Woohoo!
Okay, welcome back. Such an honor to have back with us today Scott Powell. He's a member of the Committee on the Present Danger / China. He's also a senior fellow there at the Discovery Institute, and his book is a fascinating and an inspiring read called Rediscovering America. That's also the website, rediscoveringamerica.net. Scott, I'll just be blunt. What do you think of Doge?
Well, I think nothing is perfect, but first of all, the origin of Doge was in the Biden, or rather in the Obama administration. I believe that this Department of Government
efficiency
was established, and I've heard what Barack Obama had to say about it, and he was all about again weeding out waste, fraud, and abuse. That was the purpose of his creating the agency. It didn't do a great deal. So Trump has just revived what already existed. But I think American people applaud the effort to weed out waste, fraud, and abuse. Everybody knows that our government is bloated, that it wastes money. And so Doge is, Doge is carrying out this mission rather efficiently, surprisingly. Hats off to Elon Musk and his team that they have really very bright people that can figure out these government agency, computer networks, because they're finding everything digitally through, through this forensic type audits.
Yeah.
And it's overdue. I mean, what I say in my last article is that we can't continue on the same course. If we add up state debt and federal debt, we have a level of debt of 133% debt to GDP. That is the level of debt that Greece had when they became insolvent in 2012. And just because America is America, we tend to think that it could never happen in America. But I would remind everybody, there's no one to bail out America. If we have a failed Treasury auction, that is to say, we cannot refinance the debt that we have outstanding. That could precipitate a financial crisis, the likes of which we've never seen. And so it's imperative that we cut spending, but it's also imperative that we increase revenue. And Trump is really a master. I mean, some of his plans, well, some of them are not new, like drill, baby, drill, selling, our natural resources on global markets. But his idea of bringing in immigrants that are wealthy, $5 million gets a gold visa and a path to citizenship. And of course, we don't want the drug dealers who have $5 million. We want business people to come to America that want to experience the freedom and the American dream. Well, first of all, we got to restore the American dream. It's largely been lost, but we're on our way to a flourishing, the likes of which we really haven't seen. And it's going to take. There's bumps in the road, no doubt about that. That's why the markets are so unstable right now. But this is not abnormal, to be truthful. Mm-hmm. The stock market has had more severe volatility, downside volatility in the period of 2008, in the tech bubble of 2000 to 2002. That was a 2-year bear market that was just brutal. So our unsettled markets shouldn't surprise anybody. It's okay. We have to get to the other side. And I think we're going to get there relatively quick if we allow this government, we allow the Trump administration to carry out its initiatives.
Do you think?
Then let's judge Trump, after 3 or 4 years.
Do you think the American people now? I think they understand Doge and what it's doing, and they when they see the waste and the fraud, our brains go on tilt. But I don't think we're surprised. We're just really shocked, I guess, more than we are surprised. The level of fraud and abuse is at what it is. But do you think the American people now may have a better feeling of how close to insolvency we had become?
I think they do, but there's two qualities in human nature that really prevent people from dealing with problems. One is the normalcy bias. And the normalcy bias is very simple. And it's particularly applicable to older people because they have more years of normalcy. So they view the current situation through the lens of the past. And the lens of the past, America was stable. America didn't have high levels of debt. And we somehow assume that, life will go on the way it has been. So that normalcy bias prevents us from seeing the stark differences and the dangers of today. And secondly, human nature is that we tend to be in denial of problems. We don't want to see problems. That's very common. Mm-hmm. So those two sort of human nature attributes, work against us from really getting our arms around the problems that we really have. And we have very serious problems. But at least we're changing the trajectory. And I think the financial markets are already, the bond market is already showing positive signs. The stock market does what it does. It's short term, it can be very volatile. And this is normal. And what it does, though, for all you investors out there, take comfort, don't sell at the low. Just take comfort that this storm will pass, and it sets the foundation for a new bull market.
All right, I want to ask one last question here. I'm trying to figure out how to approach it here, but I've often said, as I work with people in various levels of ministry, when God calls you to something, there's usually the birth of a vision, then there's the death of a vision, and then there's the resurrection of a vision. And you will go through those stages. If we believe as believers that God puts in kings and takes down kings, to paraphrase that scripture, then the birth of the Trump revolution died during the Biden 4 years and then was resurrected at a more impacting level.
Yes.
In the second administration.
That's right.
My question is, do you think God's involved in that?
I wrote about it some months ago. I said that here's Donald Trump, a very determined man, and he believed that there was massive vote fraud in the 2020 election, and he set about correcting it, right? And he's and if anyone could get that done, he could. He asked people to come to Washington on January 6th to let their voices be heard, because that was the day of certifying the vote. We all know how that turned out. But the reality is that Trump left office. And Biden was inaugurated, and that was, God knew that was necessary. It was necessary to put Trump into wilderness, so to speak, for 4 years, to train him up even more, to understand really what he needed to do, and at the same time, it was important for the American people to see going on the same trajectory, which was the Obama trajectory, more government spending and more departure of civility and morality from American life, that this would be a disaster, that open borders and so forth, it was all a disaster. And American people, it took that to wake American people up. And so we had, so the 2024 election, it was too big to rig. There was still vote fraud in 2024, no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But Trump was able to get, popular vote. More states voted for him than voted for Harris, and of course the Electoral College votes. It was an overwhelming victory, and that's what was required. We couldn't get Trump back into office any other way other than the electoral process. But we had to overcome vote fraud, and hopefully, during this Trump administration, we're going to straighten out the election system nationwide.
Yeah, well,
the elections are in the domain of the states, so the states set the rules, and so the states are vulnerable to corruption because that's the pattern we've seen, that some states are very corrupt in the way they run elections, and others are more honest.
Yeah.
So we really need a national standard, I think, that could eliminate the corrupting influences that we've seen in the last elections.
Scott, you're an inspiration. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, get a copy of his book. Not only is it educating, it'll review a lot of things that perhaps you have forgotten or maybe never were taught, but most of all, it's inspiring. It's called Rediscovering America. There's a picture of the cover on the screen, and it has its own website, rediscoveringamerica.net. Thank you, my friend. You're a joy to talk to.
Thank you, Barry. Let's do it again. Thank you.
You bet.
You feel most alive where you feel most at home. And this is living. Bobcat, the company that changed the way the world works, is coming home with a quality compact tractor built to match your quality of life. This isn't work you have to do. It's work you get to do. So get it done in a tractor that's all you. See your dealer or visit bobcat.com.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
71.5 Golf Challenge arrives Saturday, May 17th with a 4-person scramble, morning and afternoon shotguns, and a 6:30 award social. Register your team to win by April 1st for our early bird special. Score the team player pack for just $20 instead of $100 with code Early Birdie. Become a sponsor and help thousands of kids across Southern Oregon. Visit 715.org or call 541-779-3275 today. Remember, at the 71.5 Golf Challenge, your drive changes lives.
Welcome back. And, one of the subjects that's in the news a lot, judge shopping, courts, the legislature, the Supreme Court, rogue judges. Perfect timing for us to have with us our good friend John O'Connor, former federal prosecutor, experienced trial lawyer, author of a couple of books, Postgate, How Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat and Covered Up Watergate, and began what we call today's partisan advocacy journalism. No question about that. John has also served as an assistant U.S. attorney in Northern California, representing the United States in both criminal and civil cases. There's a picture of the book, and his website is called postgatebook.com, where you can also pick up the complimentary book with it as well, called The Mysteries of Watergate. Why? Back to Watergate. There's a lot to learn in history, and there it is. Brother John, good to see you, friend. How are you?
Barry?
Okay. We have the executive branch, we have the legislative branch, and we have the judicial branch. Can one branch tell the other branch what to do?
That's the question the founders posed in putting our system together. And there should be, and they designed it so there's a tension between each branch, and that's the idea, where the democratic process should, as it were, fight this out. But
we get a stall.
The executive has some powers that are not reviewable by a court, and some powers that should not be subject to legislation, did not require legislation. And that's a hard one for people to accept. It's certainly a hard one for the judiciary to accept. But nonetheless, it's there. And the fact is that the courts should not control every aspect of our country's functioning, especially once it gets to the water's edge or to our borders. National security and border control are clearly executive branch functions, and the court should give wide berth and deference to the executive's actions. They don't understand that. I mean, there are judges that grow up with the idea that everything is about printed case law and their ability to pound the gavel and enforce that printed case law. But once we get into this area, this is something that should be primarily controlled by the executive, and the judiciary should step in only in rare circumstances or compelling circumstances. And there has to be a sense of deference there. There's nothing that's hard and fast here in this particular area once you get in there.
Okay, so we have a president in office roughly 100 days, and he's had already 15 injunctions, thrown at him by district court judges. He's slowly winning those, but it's producing a bunch of questions. Are they outside their jurisdiction with these injunctions? And if so, who corrects it, the Supreme Court or the legislature, in defining the role of a district judge?
I think the best source is the Supreme Court. There's a question as to what extent the legislature should be writing down judicial philosophy. It's very hard to do that in a statute. But I think the Supreme Court could give guidance to the courts below, especially in this area of judicial deference. And Judge Roberts just made that comment in the one of the El Salvadorian cases, I think the large deportation, that sort of warning the courts or advising the courts that they should look at these questions with deference to the executive's powers. That's a nice way of saying it. Yes, you can handle this case. Yes, they can sue in your court. But when you start examining the executive's actions, give that executive all due deference. You're not substituting your judgment for that of the executive. And that's a very hard thing to do, especially, Perry, in these last 50 years or so since Watergate. Everyone thinks that, at least so many people think that the way to roll is you always default to sort of what I would say strong powers for the judiciary and strong due process powers, that you have the right as a judiciary to come in and control the executive branch. The courts have gone a bit far here, especially in this nationwide injunction stuff.
Because at the end of the day, John, it appears to me, and I'm a layperson way down the chain on this, but it appears to me that these district courts are overwhelmed with cases. If anything, we probably need more district judges. But when you have a judge goes rogue like this, what does it do to the process?
Well, it's rough because what happens is that first of all, the plaintiff's lawyers are not stupid. They know how to judge shop. You can file a suit, and if you don't like the judge that's selected, if you don't like the initials, you can always just dismiss it and go to another court and file an action and see if you get a good judge. And you can always select the right venue, like Washington, D.C., where most of the judges are very liberal. So that is a very, very concerning thing, Perry. And how you stop that, again, I think the court has to give instructions as to how to prevent the lower courts from issuing nationwide injunctions willy-nilly. You think about it, they're just a little district court someplace with many other judges in their same district, and yet you're really legislating for the whole country. That has to be curtailed significantly.
So how much of a blow, John, were these two cases that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the president? How much of a blow was it to the lower court?
I think it was done deftly. I think especially the larger El Salvadorian case, in which essentially Roberts suggested that when this matter comes up for hearing, that the courts give due deference to the powers and the opinions of the executive branch. I think it was done in an unembarrassing way. I think it was done very smoothly and without rebuking the lower courts. So I think it was done the right way. But I think the message is starting to get across. I'd like to see a couple more cases like this where these things are fleshed out. But this is an awful good start.
Because to that point, John, two other injunctions now are being filed, one out of Texas, and I forget where the other one is, on the same merits of these that were overruled by the Supreme Court in trying to interrupt the president's deportation. So it doesn't look like it stopped it completely. So maybe you're going to get what you kind of think needs to be done, and that is a couple more cases to be put down by the Supreme Court.
Right. That's right. And so there'll be a lot of action. Let's put it this way. The next year is going to be full of judicial rulings that will shape our future quite a bit. And I couldn't be happier with the court we have now.
The other thing that pops up in this, and I want to be careful here, is immediately when things don't go the way you want them, what do? You say, well, I want to impeach these guys. I want to throw them under the bus, get them out of there. Is that something we really want to pursue?
No. In a word, no. Now, if the courts, let's say over the next year, lay down some fairly good guidelines, and there are judges out there that say, I don't care what the Supreme Court says or what Congress says, because Congress may enact a law here. I don't care what they say. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to be part of the resistance. Now, if you get a rogue judge, yeah, I can see why you might start thinking about impeaching them, but it really bothers me that we would threaten the independence of the judiciary, even if there's a judge that I don't like, or I don't like his thought processes. I don't think impeachment's the remedy. It's called an appeal.
Yeah.
And so that's our system. And I don't think we should be like the other guys who want to just run roughshod over customs and practices. That's something the Democrats do. The conservative, common sense people generally don't like to do that, and I don't think we should start now.
Good. I agree with that. One other quick question along these lines. I'm learning something, and maybe you can clarify it, that there are injunctions that cannot be appealed, the type of the injunction. Can you clarify that?
I'm not sure what's meant by that. I'd like to see chapter and verse on.
What I'm saying is that apparently there's been some injunctions that went right over into the Supreme Court and didn't get the process where it wasn't allowed to be appealed. They just jumped right into the Supreme Court. So I don't know. I guess my question is, again, I'm not totally out of ignorance here, but I picked it up the other day and trying to process it through my brain. Are there two types of injunctions?
My question is whether there's two types of appeals.
Oh, okay.
And how one gets to the Supreme Court without going to the Court of Appeals. And I think probably, and I haven't, by the way, I've just got it. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
I've got the latest decision on my email. I have my associate keep me up on these cases. So I don't know the jurisdiction here as to how they did it, but I do think the Supreme Court does have extraordinary powers to accept a case in extraordinary circumstances. So I think, for instance, let's say there's a serious question about President Trump's powers, and you and the Justice Department think this is so important that the Supreme Court has to weigh in on it.
Well,
petition the Supreme Court and ask them to take it in extraordinary fashion. I think you can. I think there's probably nothing. Let's put it this way: I think the Supreme Court can do just about anything it wants procedurally when it comes to the judicial area. So I think that's probably what happened. The Supreme Court just said, "Okay, this is important enough. We'll take a look at it."
Yeah.
Because there's going to be harm if we don't do it. If we allow this thing to continue to fester until it gets to us in the normal course, there's too much harm that's done. I'm just guessing, Perry, but as to what happened here.
Because basically what you're saying is kind of what happened, because the president requested emergency procedures from the Supreme Court to step in quickly, and they did. So I know one was heading towards the appeal, the other one jumped over appeal, and the court listened to both of them. So that's under the emergency clause, isn't it?
There you are. There you are. That's essentially what I said inarticulately, but I think the Supreme Court has that power for an emergency that on good cause shown, that we're going to step in. Because they do have, besides deciding cases, they also are in charge of administering to all these various inferior courts around the country. And this has a couple different issues here. First of all, constitutional issues of the separation of powers is huge here. The second aspect intertwined with that is their administration of the lower courts. So those two things combined here to make it in a true emergency matter. I was thrilled they took it. I just haven't yet paid attention to what was the basis for the Justice Department to say they should take it. But they clearly have that power.
Okay. Sorry about the sidebar.
It's fascinating, Perry.
Yeah.
This is it's a very, very good question, because these are extraordinary times, and I think the Supreme Court, they're looking around the corner here, and they're seeing that this is really something they have to come in and straighten out. And I'm so happy they did it.
All right, let me take a quick break. Got a few more questions. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out John's website, postgatebook.com, where you can check out both books, Postgate and then also The Mysteries of Watergate. And we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
In the heart of the Rogue Valley, RVTD connects us all, not just through miles traveled, but also through time. With renewable technologies and more convenient ways to get around, RVTD's building a future that keeps our region connected. Public transportation isn't just about getting from here to there. It's about the journey, past, present, and future. Rogue Valley Transportation District, celebrating 50 years of moving our community forward.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
The Dove is upgrading our studios. For the first time, weather and sound insulation, air conditioning, and we're enlarging our studios to produce more local shows. It's been budgeted, but we also need some much-needed equipment to complete the remodel. Our goal is $128,853. Will you prayerfully consider helping us during our spring boost? You can call anytime or donate online safely at thedove.us. Thank you for helping the Dove change lives.
The Bible, when you think about it, is the ultimate group project. Think about this. It was written by over 40 different authors over a period of 1,500 years. Authors came from various countries. Most of them didn't know one another. They used a variety of styles, and yet it all fit together perfectly. It has one unified theme, and that theme is Jesus Christ.
Okay, welcome back. Always an honor to have with us John O'Connor, former federal prosecutor and very experienced trial lawyer. He's also served as the assistant U.S. attorney there in Northern California. And his website is called postgatebook.com, where you can check out the book Postgate and then the sequel to it, The Mysteries of Watergate. So, John, there is a bill moving through the House yesterday. It's called the SAVE Act. It was pretty interesting. 220 votes for it, 208 against it. So actually some Democrats came across the aisle to vote for this. And basically it is you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote in a federal election. So it appears this is on the move. Let's just assume for a moment it goes all the way through and becomes law. Would this set up possibly two ballots in a state? So during an election where you have state and city and municipal candidates running for something, a non-citizen could vote for those, and then you'd have a ballot for the federal election.
We sort of have this already. Most people don't realize that in the contested election in 2020, Arizona, through lawsuit brought by a special interest group, ended up, Katie Hobbs, who's a Democrat, stipulated to this, which I think is terrible, but stipulated to a judgment that allowed non-citizens to vote in federal-only elections. So the reverse of what you said. But in Arizona right now, and people have tried to get rid of that, but right now, someone can come and get a federal ballot in Arizona, even though they're not a citizen. And the problem in 2020 was about 10,000 people voted under that, and maybe 8 or 9. But in this last election, it got up to 20, where we know at least before the election, 20,000 people had ballots under the federal-only idea. So one assumes that all those people are not citizens, because in that program, you didn't have to show proof of citizenship. Now, think about what that is, Perry. The two ballot thing doesn't bother me so much as it bothers me that in any of these cases, non-citizens can vote. That is completely antithetical to the whole idea of a democracy. It's supposed to be only citizens. Even though that may seem exclusive, that's the concept.
Sure.
Those are the demos. The demos are the people, and the people are the citizens. And now we're saying you can vote to control our country, even though you're a citizen of another country. And and there is an area, I think it might be in Texas someplace, where they're trying to impose Sharia law on a municipality, and that's the conundrum of our system. That in a democratic process, people can all vote together to put together a government that's completely authoritarian and non-democratic, and completely, in spite of the separation of church and state, have a religion control the political realm.
Yeah.
So that's a very concerning trend. And I don't know. I'm happy that we can have this statute that says that only, at least in let's say at least in federal elections, you got to be a citizen. Now, I don't know what you do at the state level. I suppose there's room for a suit under state law, or perhaps even a constitutional violation.
Well, if this sees the light of day, I mean, it seems to be, to your overall concern, this is a step in the right direction, that in federal level you have to be a citizen to vote. That's going to put the pressure on the state A to see if they adhere to that, which I would assume this would hold up in court. But does it create a two-ballot system in a state that could care less?
Well, I say fine. I'll tell you this. It does encourage them to have the same measure for state state offices, because it's so expensive to print up second ballots. So that's a good thing in my view.
Right.
And I think this legislation is a good thing, and we should keep it to citizens. I mean, this is a real testing point for a country that has millions and millions of illegal immigrants here.
Yeah. Okay. Do you suspect, John, from your intel, that as DOGE continues to uncover fat and fraud and deceit, that sooner or later they're going to track the money to kickbacks? And could that lead to unbelievable, maybe legislative crises in the United States where our elected officials are crooks?
I think there are a lot of elected officials who are crooks. And one of the things that they're going to see, and this is where it's going to be hard to prove anything, when you can get $20 billion out the door to Stacey Abrams' NGO,
right,
and then she can in turn give it to other NGOs, what is the method? I mean, we know that's a kickback. We know that people are getting paid off. We know that one of the NGOs she could give to would be an NGO that's run by the offspring of a congressperson or some other politician. Well, Stacey Abrams herself is a politician that's going to deliver votes. So all of this is very, very troubling, and I think we're going to find that. And now, whether or not these are criminally indictable is another matter, but in essence, they are kickbacks. That's exactly what's going on. In California, this has been terrible for a long time. What happens is all the NGOs, together with the unions, the governmental employees unions, get together. They contribute a ton, both in money and in manpower, for phone banks to get the people elected, and you have to play ball with them. And in turn, the elected officials give money to the NGOs. And you can have a nice NGO and have a $500,000 salary, and the NGO should pay for your car, and they should pay for trips to wonderful resorts, because you need to have these wonderful discussions of how to run your NGO with other NGOs who are doing the same thing. And meanwhile, the person paying for that is the waitress who's busting her back to make money, and then she pays taxes for people like this. It was really bothersome to me, and it's been going on for quite a while, and the master of this was Biden.
All right, so the good news is it's being uncovered, being discovered, and being cut off. That's the good news. I mean, if we stop funding this baloney, that's a huge savings on the expense line, but moreover, it's going to dry some of these crazy things up.
Oh, that's right. That's absolutely right. And this is a little bit off topic, but I will tell you this. How did Anthony Fauci get the gain-of-function research into China? He gave a grant to an NGO, didn't he?
Oh, gosh.
That's how he went around our system, and that's how we had this terrible nationwide pandemic, was because of using these NGOs. So it's a very, very concerning thing for a democracy, because these things can be buried so deeply.
John, one quick question, short amount of time. If they determined that President Biden was incompetent and he was electronically signing things by the decision of somebody else, does that undo any of his decisions?
It won't, because first of all, he hasn't been declared incompetent under the 25th Amendment, what have you. So that's number one. And signing with another pen doesn't mean anything as long as it's authorized. And he would say he authorized it, the signing this way of these particular bills.
Yeah.
All it does is point out in a democracy why we shouldn't elect people like Biden. And that's what's tough. You think about that election in 2020, and we were all bamboozled. And you and I knew it, but most people didn't.
Yeah. Thank you, John. You're always there for us. I appreciate it. Your wisdom is greatly appreciated. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out John's website, postgatebook.com. A couple of books there of history that you would think they were written yesterday. The Mysteries of Watergate and Postgate itself. Check those out at postgatebook.com. Thank you, John. We have a lot to talk about. It gets interesting by the hour.
We have a year ahead of us, Perry. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. God bless you, friend.
Yeah.
Flag Armory offers top brand affordable rifles, shotguns, handguns, and gear. We also offer an array of classes emphasizing safety, self-defense, and accuracy. We strive to provide the